Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 416. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. You should rise, says the sensei of the whatnot and the Duke of You-Know. I felt like I should do something about you resurrecting, seeing as I tend to kill you on a variety of our episodes.
Ooh, that means I got superpowers now. All right.
Yeah, you're oozing with whatnot. On this episode, we're talking about Batman 37, Robin Rises Alpha, Batman Superman number 17, kind of ending our kind of casual look at the whole Bat universe, and Green Lantern Annual number 3, the conclusion of the Godhead storyline. We are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network, of the League of Comic Book Podcasts, and the Infinite Comics.com podcast partnership. Got tongue-tied there. Might as well just leave that in because that's kind of funny. Mumble Mouth End 2014. I want to shout out our show sponsors, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. We're at the end of the month, so for DCBService.com, this is the time of the month where they start getting ready to release the new deals that they're going to be offering for the next month. But being that it's the end of the year, I want to thank them personally for continuing to support our show, which they've done for many years now. DCBService.com is your discount source. If you haven't checked them out, please check them out. If you go to our website and click on the link, it takes you to their website. They are a digital partner with Comicsology and mydigitalcomics.com. If you link those accounts, 5% of those purchases goes towards your DCB service order, but I just want to personally thank them for supporting our show. InStockTrades.com, their sister site, is running a 45% off all DC and Marvel titles, but they have a sale running right now. It's save up to 70% on over 250 DC titles. They have just constant sales going on over at their site. I encourage you to check them out every week because they're always doing something new. So if you haven't had a chance to check them out, go over to their website immediately and check them out. Actually, that 70% off sale ends December 31st. So if you're listening to this today when I'm releasing it, you're going to want to grab that sale. But they have constant weekly sales that are updated, and anything from 35 to 45 to 50% and more off on a variety of different books. It's really great stuff. Like they have Superman's Action Comics hardcover volume 5. That's 45% off, only $12.64. That's a hardcover for $12. I mean, how do you beat that deal? I mentioned X-O-Man of War before. The trade paperback volume 7, Armor Hunters. It's 30% off, only $10.49. I mean, these are great deals on books. They have an amazing X-Men trade right now. I'm looking at volume 2, 45% off, only $9.89. So, you're in the $10 range and you're getting just great storylines that you can pick up from InStockTrades.com. We talk about the budget, when you're dealing with that. A lot of times my problem becomes I get into a book and I want to get caught up. It's trying to find the budget to get caught up, and having a site like InStockTrades.com to be able to kind of bundle things together. Remember, orders of $50 or more give you free shipping, which, if you're saving up and grabbing a bunch of things at one time, or if you're getting gifts, it's a great way to save on shipping too. And that shipping cost adds up fast. So I just want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Should old warnings be forgot? Remember, we're a spoiler show with plotline twists and what not to what-ish. And we go in depth into the books we review on the show. So if you haven't read them, come back later, so you'll better enjoy the show.
So how long did you practice that one? Because I'm fascinated now after our last episode with the reveal that you do this in the car.
I actually did that one a couple years ago.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I did that a couple years ago. I just pulled it out of my head about 5 minutes ago when we were talking about year end, and I completely flubbed my, farewell and Happy New Year type of stuff.
Did you really?
Let me do that again. So that's with no practice.
Wow, that was really well done.
Great molecules! They're programming the computers for a chain reaction to blow up that atomic pile!
All right, our first discussion this episode is going to be on Batman 37. Scott Snyder's the writer, Greg Capullo on pencils. The inks are by Danny Mickey. Colorist is FCO Placencia. Letters by Desi Ciente and Taylor Esposito. Cover by Capullo, Mickey, and Placencia. Variant covers by Andy Kubert and Brad Anderson with Darwin Cook. Assistant editor is Matt Humphreys. Editor, Mark Doyle. Batman, of course, created by Bob Kane. This is an intense little story that we got going on right now. I didn't know what Endgame was going to be, and all of a sudden we saw the Joker come back, especially with the Joker gas being used on the Justice League. I thought that was a really cool way to kick off this storyline. But the mystery of, how did the Joker come back? How does he have a face again? And those are things that are gradually being filled out, including the mystery of Eric Border. And how the Joker once again has managed to appear on the scene. We saw Morrison do this during his run, where the Joker appears on the scene as a different character. And Eric Border is a character who's trying to help the Batman, which we've seen has been a theme of the Joker. In his own twisted way, he sees himself as being the other half of Batman. In some way, he makes Batman better by being the Joker. And I'm really loving the direction of this storyline, because what happens when the Joker no longer thinks he's able to help you, or you're able to be saved? Which is where this storyline in Endgame seems to be taking a turn at. He no longer believes that Batman wants, needs help. So he's basically this destructive force that's taking on the world with this new Joker toxin that Batman cannot find a cure for, which we've always seen Batman find that cure just in time. This is a completely different strain, and I'm loving this storyline because of it. It's the intensity of the strain, but the mystery of the Joker, what happened with the Justice League. And Batman's own vulnerability when it comes to the Joker. There's something about this twisted freak of nature you can't make sense of, and it has an effect on Batman because of it. Really, really like how the storyline's kicking off.
Oh, God, yeah. This is one of those that it completely caught me off guard and had no idea where we were going with this. And then all of a sudden, Joker appears, and then bam, bam, and just started escalating. It's one of those, I want to say tail spinning out of control, but it is completely in control by the creators. But the story that's being told to us, you have that wonderful chaos that's scripted and going through it. Chaos is the underlining principle and thought that I always have for the Joker, but it's that controlled chaos. But it's that, it's like you're not completely sure does he have a master plan? Is he just completely flying from the seat of his pants? What is the Joker actually doing? Does he have a plan? I love those type of stories with the Joker, where even though it looks like he's got a complete plan, you're like, does he really? How much, and there's just always that question raised by a really cool Joker story. And I'm getting that absolute controlled chaos from him that I love.
I love the artwork in this. I just think this is going to be one of those runs that's going to go down historically as being a creative team. Scott Snyder's writing obviously has been top notch. Greg Capullo's pencils and just the inks, colors, everything that's going on in this book. From that opening page where you see Bruce sweating because he's frozen. It's the Joker toxin has taken its work on him. And it really is this sense of helplessness and this need to overcome that helplessness. It's not a state that Batman wants to be in, but he also sees what's going on in his city. There's huge biohazards happening in his city all over the place. Unless they can do something about it, there's going to be containment issues. It's really going to be just an intense amount of destruction on Gotham and the world at large if it's not contained. And I really love that contagion, that sense of danger that's going on in this story. It's just something that I think it's really benefited from.
And not only that, one of the things I dig in about this, again, we talked earlier, but just the escalation of that, what is the virus? How this time it's spreading airborne, it's spreading through laughs and coughs. So as the people are laughing, as they're continuing and spreading it even further. So it's not just the initial dump. I get infected, then I infect you, and it just starts spreading throughout that. But also, it was great seeing when they're analyzing how they're trying to cure the virus, and they get it almost completely cured, but it comes back, and it still has that, just that level of toxicity that is in this strand. That it's those stories where you're like, how the heck can he win? How is he going to be able to beat the Joker this time? How can he do it? And in the back of your mind, you raises the question, can he do it? Now, he's the Batman. He can do anything, but how is he going to do it? And those are the great Bat stories where you have this obstacle that any normal mere mortal would completely crumble against. Bruce rises up and he fights it, and his team rises up and they fight it. And it's one of those where you never quit, you never say die, you keep pushing forward no matter how impossible it seems.
I like the idea that Alfred and his daughter followed Batman's protocols to try and resolve this issue. Batman puts things in place if he's out of commission that his team can go and start reacting and doing things with. The idea that this is the Joker's masterpiece, that he's this brilliant lunatic. And there's something to that, because if you're going to say that Batman's greatest foe is the Joker, you've got to believe there's something more to him than gags. There's got to be that something that shows you that this guy is one step above everybody else. This issue and this whole storyline actually really shows the deep, twisted nature of the Joker. I thought Death of the Family did this. I felt like this is the logical next step to that. This rebirth of the Joker as a genuine, scary threat that doesn't need 87 gazillion people to do it. What do you take about that story that's going on with the Joker? This idea that the Joker is this, this clown that, because I took it to be that this is a legend that the Joker has let be, one of many, the Joker's let be perpetrated about him. Not that he actually is this clown from the past, but it's something that he's more than willing to use as one of his many stories. Kind of like what they did in Dark Knight with him, where he kept changing his background story. I think this idea of the Joker as an enigma that people think a lot of different things about, I think is what's going on here. How did you take that?
Well, it had me thinking a couple different things. One, it's, as you said, with, this is something the Joker wants people to think, because like Batman has his mystery, it wasn't until recently that people even knew he was a human. Most people were thinking, and there's probably still some people out there who would say Batman's not human, he's superhuman, he's a meta, he's some type of creature of the night. You'll have different theories with it. Well, Joker wants those same type of theories, where you want people thinking he's beyond he's not just a guy with a white a white painted face or who does goofy things. There's something supernatural to him. Then on the other side of it, I started believing it. I'm like, what if the Joker actually is some supernatural entity? And it's not just a single guy, that over the years where it looked like the Joker died, in reality, the Joker didn't die. The Joker is this entity that can't die, that occupies a new host time and time and time again. What if this, the Joker is actually the supernatural one, and Batman is the mortal fighting this and doesn't realize just what level of craziness that the Joker is? So it was kind of neat when they introduced that concept, because I was like, hey, what if that is the case? What if Joker is this mystic clown from the past that never dies? Like, truly, it's like evil never truly dies. Well, guess what? That's what the Joker is. He is this entity that Batman can't kill.
And I don't know that I believe that. I believe that the Joker is very content to let that be one of the things that people think.
I know, that's the greatest thing.
I think in the sense that he is this supernatural antithesis of Batman. I don't want to say supernatural. This super crazy antithesis of Batman. For Batman's sense of order, the Joker is intense chaos on the other side. We're in awe of what Batman, a mere human who's trained himself to be this thing can do. The Joker is a mere human who is just an intense agent of chaos on the other side. I don't believe the story, but I believe that it's one of many legends that has added fuel, quote unquote, fuel to the fire of the Joker, and I really quite like that. Here's the thing: I don't care if it really is going to be a part of his mythos that he's that thing. I think the ambiguity is intentional, though.
Yes,
I think
definitely.
We're not supposed to know. We're not supposed to be able to pin it down. It's just another legend to add to the Joker mythos. And I think it works better that way. I think it's a good move. I think the way I've got no issue with it. I like the idea that you could debate it. There's not really going to be I don't think there really should be an answer to it. There's something about him having that mystery to him, I think, that just works for the character. Talk about reinvigorating a character. I've always loved the Joker, and he's a character that has had such great impact on so many Batman stories, from being very silly to being very dark and mysterious to killing a Robin to, all the things that he's done over the years, things like Killing Joke, what he did to Barbara. He's had major impacts. This is a character who's been brought back, and he's had a major impact again. This is why you need to refresh characters every so often. These storylines that have happened during Snyder's run are a great example of why do we need to refresh our heroes? Why do we need to refresh our villains from time to time? It's because you need to make them relevant to the current time. You need to make them feel like they are somehow powerful again. You don't want them to feel stale and like, wow, we're redoing the same story that we've done in the past before. You can't. If you're going to do it, it's going to be a watered-down version of those stories. They aren't going to hold up because the original creators who originally told those stories way back when did it better. It's just but when you take your own take on it, your own spin on it, and you throw in all of those tools that those previous creators used with these characters, you get something special and different, and that's what's happening with the Joker here. He's that same Joker that we read all those years. He's the same Joker that tied people up on birthday cakes. He just has evolved. He's grown. There's a sense of time passage with him. Even though the New 52 has happened, he's still a character. And the Batman universe has really shown us that you can still show that these characters have had time passage and make that relevant. There is a continuity to these guys, and there's a past history that's there. It's not as much as we were used to before the New 52, but certainly far more far-reaching than most stories, with the exception of maybe the Green Lantern verse, in the DC universe right now. That the rich history of the Bat books. And I think it benefits. It really benefits when you read a story like this.
Oh, God, yeah. Especially when we've got an obvious creative team who respect the past, and they're not out to change it. They're out to continue the story. And you can tell just everything you were saying with the Joker. I'm just nodding my head saying, yes, this is the same guy that did those horrific things to Barbara and to Jim Gordon in Killing Joke. This is the same guy from Death in the Family. This is the same guy throughout the years of just the level of evil, but also the whimsical side. And just, this is a great, beautiful blend of just death and destruction. And it, with the Joker, you need to have this level of, just as much as Batman is super cool, you need the Joker to be that equal level of evil. But it's not even just, he's not the I'm going to conquer the world evil. He's going to watch it burn. And that was the thing from the movies that I love, just how they captured the Joker in the movies. It's that same Joker we're seeing here. It's the same Joker we've seen over the years that is just absolutely wonderful. And I'm just, there's, when the story is going on, I missed, just this level of, story being told. Like, what I mean by missed, I missed like every month this coming out. Some of the best Joker stories I've read have been from the past, and I've read them in either collection or in one lump sum or etc. With like Death in the Family. With this one, I was able to every month you get a new piece of the puzzle, another thing, and it's that building from one month to the other to the other. It's when the Bat books come out, I'm just jumping on this title, going, yes, need more, just because I'm so hungry for what is this, what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and that's really important. Here's the part where I started to poke a hole in the Joker being that supernatural creature. Jim Gordon actually is the part that did it. When the Joker's at his place, and you've got that sequence where Jim Gordon's confronting him. Move and I'll cut you down, Joker. No more parlor tricks, no more doctored photos or gags. Pretending what? You're something special? You're done. The Joker in that sequence, you're right, maybe this isn't a joke this time, going through that, but it's the gunshot. You see that sequence where Batman is being shot by Joe Chill, and you see the bulletproof vest smash, the bullet smash into it. You see the same thing with the Joker. His tie's hit, and it's a bulletproof vest again. They're mirror images of each other of what's happening. They're not supernatural. They're not something more. They're an enigma that they've developed. They're a human who has developed such a story around themselves that it's very hard for people, even the people closest to them, to truly pin down who and what they actually are. And I loved the mirroring of the artwork in that sequence with Chill and Jim Gordon shooting them. There was something about that sequence where I'm like, I get it. This isn't, the Joker really isn't this.
Yeah.
The Joker's content to keep people on their toes, to keep them guessing. That's his joke. It's they don't know. He knows. And they know what he wants them to know. It doesn't have to be the truth. The funny part is he can sit back and laugh at what they're thinking. I like that kind of stuff. It's twisted. It's unique. It's a mystery to the Joker that I think makes him just a far more relevant and interesting character today. When you take a look at some of the television programs we watch, things like your Homelands and stuff, stuff like that. With The Following, I'm watching shows like that, 24, where you've got these mysteries with layers on them that are going on. It's great to have that happening in comics because the comics are supposed to be that serialized storytelling that is able to stretch out and delve into something with multiple layers on different levels. I like that this is the same Joker because Snyder's had a chance in his run to build a sense right from the beginning of who the Joker is to him, the mystery of him, the whole face being cut off thing, and it's really great. The Eric Border thing, I did not see coming. No. I had no clue that Eric Border was going to turn out to be the Joker. I love that he had many appearances that were being sprinkled all along. The Joker was here all along. We saw him come back in for the first time. There was something to that. He was still the Joker during that time. And if you look at those Eric Border sequences, he really was trying to be Batman's buddy and help him out. Something unique going on there. Here's the question we have to ask. The Joker knows, right?
100%.
I mean, we see that at the end. Hello, Bruce. Right? That's not the toxin.
Not even that. Well, it's definitely that. And it was funny, and I'm kicking myself because throughout this issue, when Joe Chill first set up and we see him basically reenact what happened at Crime Alley, right there, Joker saying, I know the truth. Flat out, and then at the end, we get the, hello, Bruce. Joker's known the entire time. Which made me completely rethink all the stuff in the past. Because you think about back in Death of the Family, when the big debate was going on about, does the Joker know? And Bruce is like, no, the Joker doesn't know. The Joker knew that entire time. So that one card that snuck into the cave, that was because the Joker knew. The Joker, he's the Joker. He knew all along who Bruce is, all along who Batman is. And it just adds to a whole nother level of what the story's being told here, because when did he find out? How long has he been playing the game? There's so much I want to know, but on one hand, I don't want to know. I want this mystery. I want this craziness, this uncertainty that we can debate about the Joker. I love the fact that he did say, hello, Bruce, giving us, yes, that's a definite, yes, he does know Batman is Bruce, but the whole other stuff, what you can argue and debate, discuss. When did he find out? When did he figure it out? What was the thing that, finally lynched it, or did he always know? And just, it was part of the Joker's mindset where he's going to help Batman. It doesn't matter that that's why he's not going to reveal it. There's so many different other stories that are now spinning out of my head going, wow, this is cool.
Can you let him live? Like, you're Batman in this situation, with what he knows, with what he does. Can you let him live? I know, like, I'm the advocate in the Batman debate that, like, Batman can't kill you, but is the Joker different? Are there different rules with the Joker? With everything that he's done here, like, I'm an advocate of the death penalty. I think you need to be very judicious with it. I think you need to do your homework and research with it. You need to be 100% sure with it. But I'm an advocate for the death penalty. The Joker, I'm an advocate for the death penalty with the Joker. What are you going to rehabilitate there? He's never going to be able to be put back into society. Yeah, it's funny. I'm watching the 66 Batman show, and there's Warden Crichton on it, and he quote unquote rehabilitated the Penguin. Who escaped and had this crime spree going. So, even back in those days, you could start hedging the debate. Are you really going to rehabilitate some of these, extreme crazies? What are your thoughts on that with the Joker? Like, this Joker, it's funny, as I was reading this story, I'm like, boy, I'm a big Batman doesn't kill. Batman, is an advocate for the system and all that type of thing. When it comes to the Joker, there's my head goes in different places with that.
See, it's funny because between the two of us, I'm a much more advocate for the death penalty and usages, etc. Mm-hmm. And I think between the two of us, I'm a little bit more, I want to see it used more than what it's actually used than you do.
Right.
And with the Joker, up until this story, I was 100% you got to kill him. And this is part of my mindset with the advocate and usage of the death penalty. I was like, this is somebody who has zero redeemability.
So this story, you see it differently?
And here's why.
I want to hear this. I'm excited.
Here's why. Mm-hmm. The Joker is planning for Bruce to kill him. The Joker has an end game set up that if Bruce does kill the Joker, something else will happen.
Okay.
I don't know what that end game is, whether it's a Joker toxin released throughout the entire world or whatnot. I don't know. But the Joker has a plan and it has an end game set up. If Batman does actually kill him, something even worse will happen. And that's the only reason why I don't think Batman should kill the Joker, is because I think something worse would happen if he did.
Well, I'd be an advocate for that reason, too. I think everybody would be. But, oof. He's an interesting character. I love the fact that he feels dangerous. Like, he's scary in this story. This is definitely a horror story. There's something to that with the character, the Clown Prince of Crime. It should be a very, very scary character in the Bat universe. Oof.
Well, and it's funny because on one hand, you can look at him, you think, is he, on the surface, when you get the goofiness of the Joker and all that, you're like, he's not that dangerous. Then you just start seeing I keep throwing out the word evil, but there's a word beyond evil for this guy, because it's the evil, crazy chaos all blended into some new entity, some new word, some Joker. I don't know what you can call that word, other than Joker evil or Joker crazy or, Joker chaos or just all of the above. I don't know what you can say with it, but there is just something beyond anything else out there, any other villain, even Darkseid. There's something even worse in the Joker than in Darkseid. And Darkseid is this master destroyer of worlds and destroyer of universes. There's just something about the Joker that just makes him that much more, in my mindset, more dangerous, more just nasty. And I love it, just the way he's being portrayed here. I'm like, wow. And it's funny because you don't want to be his enemy and you don't want to be his friend either. You just hope the Joker doesn't notice you.
I like the backup feature in this. Boy, did Tinian do a great job. I love that it's John McCrea. I loved his artwork from Hitman, so it's great to see that being used in this. But the whole idea that the story that Morton, it goes back to his childhood. It's a tale that was told to him, and that's why I think the Joker uses that stuff, because now he's got a way of manipulating Morton. And Morton now has become a lackey of his. And through that being a lackey, he's using Morton against the doctor. And the doctor's being thrown down there, and she's like pleading with, Eric, what are you doing? Help me. And don't worry, you'll be seeing me soon enough. But we've already seen that Eric has revealed himself as the Joker. I want to see where this story goes. I love that this is like the backstory, elements of the backstory of filling in the cracks of what was happening with the Joker. But it's so insane and chaotic. The story is really told from the Joker's perspective, or from the perspective of those actually encountering the Joker's chaos. So the artwork change I thought was really welcome. The coloring choices I thought were really welcome. It's almost a bizarre Alice in Wonderland twisted nightmare that you're seeing in the back. And I like that it's different than what's going on in the main story. It just needs a different tone. There's something to that. It's more chaotic.
Oh, God, yeah. And I agree with you. This is, I didn't sing enough praise before about the artwork and the full creative art team, pencils, inks, coloring. I'm loving just the visual treat that I'm getting from Endgame and from the backup and from all of this. Because this is, again, it's one of those stories where all pieces of the puzzle are firing on all cylinders. And they're really, it's a team effort here. And this is something that I'm loving, this story that's crafted, but I'm loving the way it's told to me. And I'm just, I'm giddy with, when I do my read-throughs, and my art read-throughs have just been absolutely enjoyable for me, that to the point where I've read this issue multiple times, and a lot of times I'm just looking at the pictures. I'm just looking. I'm not even reading words. I'm just going through, and it can completely tell the story just by going through the visual element of it. Reading the stuff, you get more from it, but you do get this great story being crafted. And as you're going through, I can hear just the maniacal laughter and just everything that is just the Joker. I'm very excited, very pumped for how this is going. This is one that I'm looking forward to the hardcover. I'm looking forward to. I want this absolute. I want this large and in charge. And oh my God, yeah. I'm
assuming at some point they will release a Snyder omnibus, after his run is eventually done, whenever that is, of his Batman work. And honestly, I would love that volume. I think that's something really neat when they start to release those type of things where everything's just kind of nicely collected in one big, meaty tome.
Oh, yes.
You're mentioning the art. I'm looking at that last page right now where it's, you'll see me soon enough. You know what I'm noticing there? The way the laughter, the Joker laughter almost seems to pop out of the page.
Yeah.
Like you're left with that haunting you at the end. And that really stood out for me because the way that it's colored and drawn, it really does seem to jump out at you in a way that was really genuinely creepy. Not ignoring the creepy image of the Joker, but it's funny how usually that's more foreground for me. I loved the choice of having that be more background to the laughter because this idea was presented in there that when you laugh in Gotham, you die. And we're seeing that with this contagion. That because laughter is like coughing, that's an immediate release of the contagion. So they're adding, this whole thing, why does Joker toxin spread? Because of that. This strain in particular, there's Patient Zero, which are you assuming Patient Zero is that little boy that Batman rescued? Is that Patient Zero?
That's how I took it.
Okay. I'm very curious to see where Patient Zero goes. There's a lot going on in this story, and I really like that. I like that there's not one thing that we're dealing with right now. You got a whole city that's gone crazy, and you're seeing Jim Gordon locked up and trying to deal with the crazy of the city. You're seeing Batman trying to deal with the crazy of the city. I like that the people, because of the way that the people view Batman, that all of a sudden they would take a very different direction when they're under the Joker toxin. And I like how that all plays out. There's an intensity to him trying to sneak into that hospital that just works. Because you don't want to hurt anybody, because these are people that are victims. But how do you escape and get through all of this when they're all infected? It's a creepy infection, because It's kind of like, it's very much what, and I don't want to, I'm not like lumping it in with Walking Dead, but one of the creepy things about Walking Dead is these are people you know. They're faces that you see. They're people that you love. Unless you've driven to a new area at this point. But a lot of times you'll see kids with dolls, and you'll see, family members and things. And it's got to become very cold and disheartening when you see that. This has that creep factor to it. These are people, they aren't dead, but they're infected by the toxin, and we have no cure. They're spreading it just by living and laughing and doing what they do. So there's a constant contagion around you. The intensity of what Batman's doing, I don't know that I'd trust that little mask that he's got over his face.
Well, he loses that by the end.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much of him is infected throughout any of this, how much of this he's seeing for real. And I love the scene when he's walking past the nursery and he thinks, "Don't look at them, Bruce." With the little babies infected. I thought that for me was another wow kind of moment. Because you think about all those little kids.
Wait, where does he lose it at the end?
I thought he...
No, when he bursts out of the window with the kid, he's still got it on his face. He only lifts it when they're up in the sky.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because
when he bursts out of the window with the kid, he still got it on his face. Like when he went back,
got it. Okay.
When he went back to the baby ward, which was really creepy, the baby ward.
Yeah.
When he goes back there, he still got it on his face. And then when he bursts through the window with what I'm assuming is patient zero, he still got it on his face. He only lifts it after. I'm assuming he lifted it, and that's not a coloring error down at the Jim, are you there sequence. But he still had it on his face as of when he came crashing out of the window.
Yes, you are correct, sir. I stand corrected on that one. But yeah, there's just like, I'm like, man, I'm so digging this. I am just in, again, even that scene right above the baby scene where Gordon's like, he's happy that he killed the Joker. He's like, I know it's bleak, but you're just sitting there, I'm reading it going, dude, he ain't dead. Come on. Even if I didn't see the him hitting the tie bulletproof vest or any of that stuff, you would know he's still not dead. Evil doesn't die that easy. And I just absolutely, again, it was those moments where you're just like, man, no, Gordon, turn around. And I'm yelling at my comic book like it was a movie or something.
We're 37 issues into his run, and you should also probably count the year that he did with Dick Grayson. I do get worried with him. What happens when he runs out of stories? Because I just love reading his Batman. It always feels like an event. And issues that are in between events feel like they're building towards something. I love the feeling that like Batman in and of itself, the Bat universe is filled with events. It's so many story arcs you can throw out through Batman's history that were events, and they were stories that mattered, and they're beloved by people. This is going to be a run that's beloved by people. This is the kind of run that I would give to somebody as a gift who maybe doesn't read comics anymore, but did, and they were a Batman fan, to say, hey, you're going to want to start collecting these in trades or hardcover, whatever, just to read this story. And knowing that if they start paging through it, for a lot of what you said about the artwork's immediately engaging. The story and dialogue's immediately engaging. This is a branch, to really give people to read Batman now and just say, wow, this is an edgy, relevant Batman story. That it takes dark twists and turns, but there's great love and character drama, too, with what goes on with Alfred and Alfred's I love Alfred's daughter being in this. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about her sticking around. I'm really enjoying the way that she works as a part of Team Batman. I'd be curious to see how long she does stick around and what that looks like. I'm really enjoying the direction of the Bat universe right now, though, and his support team.
Yeah, I am a big fan of Penny too, and especially the fact that he immediately gave her that code, that call, code and all that stuff, and it just continued on with that. And it was funny how when he first started calling her that, everybody immediately caught on what he was doing, and it was, if you know why Penny 1 was the defense thing, you understand. Okay, Penny 2, but I thought that was just a really cool thing that they all just took it in stride. There was no hesitation. Everyone's moving on, and even with her, when she was first thrust in the role, she's like, I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, you're all I got. You got to step up. And it was a really cool, intense moment. And it was that immediate trust just because he knows where she comes from and he knows now that she's into the secret, she knows why Alfred's done everything he has done. I love just that story between the two of them that's been told through these issues and through, Batman, Eternal, etc. Just everything it's this bad universe is crafting with the interconnectability and just this dynamic of a Bat universe has been something I am just very happy and I'm thrilled with. I am absolutely thrilled with the Bat universe as a concept, as execution, and it's like, wow.
Want to talk Robin Rises Alpha?
Amen. Our next discussion will be Robin Rises Alpha. The writer is Peter J. Tomasi with pencils by Andy Kubert. We have inkers of Jonathan Galapia and Andy Kubert rotating through the different pages. We have colorist Brad Anderson, letterer DZ Cienti, with Kubert and Anderson on the cover, the Cliff Chang variant cover. David Wielgosz or GZ, assistant editor, Rachel Gluckstern, editor, Mark Doyle, group editor, and of course, Batman was created by Bob Kane.
I love the issue before this because, it was the ending of the storyline. Yeah. We got Damian back. So I'm like, how do you follow that up? They did it. They did it. Oh my gosh, was this such a good issue? I adore this book. It's funny, all the praise and love that I just gave Batman, I'm glad that we had another issue of the Batman and Robin title, this one shot to talk about to kind of end off our year, because you mentioned it at the end of the end of our last discussion that you're loving the Bat universe. And I do feel that that's true of Detective Comics, Batman and Robin, the Batman book, and then all of the satellite titles that are going along with it. I'm just really enjoying the product, the diverse product they're delivering. I love that in tone and style and presentation, this book always feels very different, yet at the same time, it feels like it's a part of that same world. And I don't feel like I'm getting the same thing over and over again, because what would happen would be, okay, they're trying to do Snyder here, and it's not quite as good. They're not. Tomasi's trying to be Tomasi.
Yeah.
The art team's trying to be their art team. They are very well aware of who Batman is, of who Damian is, of the whole Bat family is in this world, so it's all relevant. Like when you see Alfred suiting up in the early part of this, like cleaning himself up, getting himself back in, he's got to look the part before he loads up on the gun. I thought that was one of the best sequences I've seen this month. I just thought that was awesome. Hoorah!
If you think about our discussion when we were talking about the last issue with the Batman and Robin, where I just made that off comment like, man, it was kind of neat seeing Alfred all locked and loaded when they first came through the boom tube. This setup to that sequence, I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. He's got the tie undone. He's hanging out with the cow and the cat. And then it's okay. Anomaly coming in, he stands up, does the James Bond, fixes the tie, puts on the jacket, and then armors up. I'm like, oh my God, this is cool. I was hooping and hollering. Just same praise I gave with Snyder and crew, I'm going to give to Tomasi and crew as well. This is another creative team that loves and respects this character and that, respects the work that came before it. We got that same feel of Alfred, of Damian, of Bruce, of the full team, the whole 9 yards. We're getting that. Again, this is another just absolute love fest of what they've crafted and what's come down the line and what's going to be coming through. And I was like, wow, I was excited and just, again, there's so many just, adjectives. I'm going to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. But all I got to say is just, oh my God, wow. I am just hooping and hollering because the little monster's back and he's got superpowers. Oh yeah.
One of the things that I love about what's going on in the Bat books, you kind of get the Wolverine gets this a lot, or when he was alive, gets this a lot. There's these characters like Batman and Wolverine and Spider-Man and these characters, Superman, who are popular and they have multiple titles that are associated with them. Batman and Wolverine, I think, are the two biggies that get the most criticism because they seem to appear everywhere. They're part of all these teams. They do all these other things. When you've got books that have new and fresh and interesting and unique stories to tell that make you go, wow, that was awesome, that's validity to having another title with that character. When you've got a book where you're just like, okay, it's just another Batman title, That's a different tone. It's a different feel. You know, that's where it feels like, okay, we're just cashing in. The stories don't match the quality of the character's rich history. The creators that have come before to tell amazing stories with it. These books right now are major impact books. They're telling stories that matter. The one that amazes me, we talked about it previously, the Detective Comics book. That's standing out for me as well, as having rich stories that are interesting. I love the creative team and the art, and again, it's very different from this. This is the kind of stuff that I want to see. I want more Bat Cow. It's funny how you can take something like that should be silly, and it is silly. It makes me smile and laugh. You need it in the dark tone of this world. There's something about just a little bit of silliness, having the right balance of a little silliness that's endearing and charming and fun. It doesn't take away from the intensity of what's going on there. That's the important key part about that. That's why things like Bat Cow work in this book.
Yeah. And you want to know something? I just noticed it like 10 seconds ago.
What?
And I'm kicking myself for not seeing this sooner. But when Alfred is suiting up, because I was focused on the suiting up and armoring, I didn't notice in that very top panel, you see the shadowy image of the cow and the cat going away. Like
and wait, you're not catching the other thing, too. Take a look at who's leading the cow away. The cat's actually leading the cow.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing in the world, because you see it in the previous page, in the bottom panel. The cat actually takes the rope. All right, now, shoo, both of you, there's work to do. The cat's got the rope in its mouth, and you see that same rope in the cat's mouth in the shadow, leading the cow away. What a great!
I didn't notice that.
What a great choice!
The previous page, I never noticed that. I saw him telling him, "Okay, shoo," and I see them leaving. I never noticed the cat picking up the leash in his mouth. Oh, again. You know how many times I've read this issue, and how many times I've just looked at the artwork? I missed that. I'm like, oh my god, this is awesome. Again. More arguments for why you just got to reread your comics over and over again and spend, just take some time and just, do these artwork, the art read throughs that I do. And even then I miss that stuff. It's just little stuff like that. And it doesn't take anything away from just the sheer drama and the energy and the action of this issue. But it is a little funny moment that you're like, oh, that's kind of cool.
This Batman, I'm glad that he wasn't shelved. Like I'm like, okay, what are we gonna have Batman down and out?
Yeah.
I'm glad that they showed him as having battle damage, and that this intense battle in Apocalypse did something to him. It sets up reasons why he needs help in the coming battle with Darkseid's son when he comes through. But you got Cyborg down and out too. This was an intense battle that has after effects. If you're going to put down Apocalypse as this world, they didn't go there with the intention of taking on and defeating Darkseid. This was an extraction mission, and everything they did was for the purpose of extraction. But even just extraction from Apocalypse is going to have an after effect on you. They don't have time to wait for that after effect, though, because Darkseid's son comes through, and you see Calabac having the throwdown battle. And this is where we really get the reveal of what's going on with Damian. When Damian rescues his father, and we see Damian, going toe-to-toe with Calabac, he is shocked. Batman's shocked. Damian's fighting with Calabac, and you see it go toe-to-toe. I can't wait to see Damian's discovery of what these powers mean from him. The powers, let's talk about them right now. He's got Superman-like powers, right? I mean, that's what we're seeing here. What do you want to see that stick around? Do you want to see that go away? Do you care one way or another at this point? What do you, just initial impressions? Do you like the idea? What do you think of the concept? And do you want it to be something that becomes a part of Damian permanently? Or do you want it to be something that will eventually dissipate?
With Damian, I am so thrilled and excited with what possibilities he can get away. What's going to happen with Damian with powers? I don't want them to go away anytime soon, but I do like the Bat without powers. I do like any member of the Bat family not to have them, just because part of it is that great about how it's that massive discipline level that gets them and has them, overcome odds that a mere mortal can't. But I don't want Damian to lose them just yet. I want them, especially with this creative team that knows what they're doing, and just let them go with it. We got some great people working Bat titles right now. Let them have a Damian with superpowers. Let them have some fun with this. Again, it's that what exactly how dangerous and how much damage can Damian do. I'm excited, thrilled, and I got a goofy grin on my face every time I say Damian has superpowers. I am pumped, excited for what's going to come down the pipeline just because of this. He's such a cool character that giving him these powers now, there's going to be a definite change in dynamics and just everything that can possibly happen in this storyline with this character. I am excited and looking forward to it.
I like what you said about letting them have some fun with it. There should be a fun factor inherent in comics. We have, Bad Universe has very dark stories and heads down a very dark path. You need that balance of sometimes just some fun going on in the Bat books. And this is fun. You're right, it's fun. Like seeing Damian take a Batmobile and hit Calabac with it is fantastic. I don't want all the titles doing that. I like that it works in this book. And I feel it's a part of that same universe, that same family. It doesn't feel divorced or disconnected from any of that. I adore how that plays out right here. I can't wait to see more of what this means for Damian and the Batman family. Really, really fun stuff.
I got to tell you how much I love this 2-page spread of Damian just cracking a Calabac.
Oh, yeah.
I want this as a poster. I want this hanging on my wall. Just that it was just a great, just stay away from them. Bam! He got the tooth flying. You got blood flying. He made Calabac bleed on a single punch. I'm like, that's some serious power levels going on in that guy. Especially add to it the Damian's just his knowledge and his discipline. This is a trained assassin. For all practical purposes, he's a level beyond just a normal person who's trained. He was trained in the League of Assassins, trained by Ra's al Ghul. This is somebody who is extremely dangerous. Now we're adding a Superman level strength, invulnerability, and super speed. So, wow, this is going to be something impressive.
I like when Bat Cow faces off with Calabac.
Yeah.
And Damian goes, don't even think about it, and throws the giant penny at him. Just great stuff. This really was nothing but a great, just visual, fun sequence. It's funny how, it feels like an epilogue issue that just delivered after everything that went on in this story, we were taken through an emotional roller coaster. We didn't know, was Batman going to get Damian back? Was there going to be a new Robin? How is this going to resolve itself at the end? Batman went to some very dark places during this. I'm glad that they gave this story not only a happy ending with the last issue, but they gave us this one shot that was fun. It was just really a fun one shot. And it's great to have a Batman story that still feels kick butt and dark and has, all the traits of Batman that we like. But it was fun. This was just a good time to read. And I like that, especially at this time of year. We're going to the holidays and stuff. It's the end of the year. This was just a fun story. This was my holiday issue.
God, I love these tender moments, too, that we get in this. When Damian, first sees Titus, and he's hugging, petting the cat, and even just the proper "you're welcome," and I believe it's time for a proper "hello, young man," and it's him and Alfred, because right before that he's calling him Pennyworth,
yep.
And then as the hug's going on, I'm glad to see you too, Alfred. And those were just some cool moments that I was like, man, this is awesome. This is the stuff that makes Damian so cool. I'm thrilled and happy that he's back. I'm just like, yay.
Seems I've got powers, Father. Yes, seems like you do, boy. We've got a lot to think and talk about. Just a really, really great sequence.
Now, the naked female with superpowers that's near Nanda Parbat.
Talia.
Okay. I was trying to figure out who is that going to be.
Well, what's superpowers?
Well, I'm assuming the fact that she's surviving in the freezing cold, and just completely destroys them with
with ninja assassin traits, like she's trained by Ra's al Ghul.
Okay, forget what I said about superpowers.
Yeah, I didn't see superpowers there, but I take it as.
But then immediately I see her wrap up in the one guy's clothing.
Yeah,
so because I was taking it that naked walking around in the freezing cold, you're going to have a level of invulnerability. But she doesn't have that complete invulnerability. She's huddled by the fire, and she stole the clothing. But She doesn't know who she is. So there's that whole Talia going through that. I'm like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot to see right there. Damien and seeing his grave. And that, to me, is like the ultimate of creepy. Seeing that your grave was there, your mother's grave was there, the idea with the dog, when he was throwing the ball. That whole sequence was really great because it went from a very somber moment to a very fun moment. As that moment goes through and you see the bat signal, Alfred's kind of like, is one night too much to ask? For Damien and Bruce, no, they want to get back out on the town. I love seeing Bruce swinging Damien flying, and the kid's face, smile. He's Robin. He likes being Robin. There's something to that. It's funny, this kid was such a brat. As he's grown up and we've gotten to know him, there's so much more to him. That's where he starts to feel like a real kid, because I think that's true of kids in general. When you meet a difficult child, a lot of times you forget that, kids aren't a one-trick pony. There's more to them, and usually there's a reason for that exterior. There's usually some softness buried in the interior. We see that with Damien. He's so well written that he became like he's our Pinocchio. He's a real boy. And I enjoy that about the character. That sequence at the end meant so much more after going through the whole gravesite and the epilogue. And I'm glad that they do stuff like that, because I don't want that to be off camera. I want to see them stand over that and them have that discussion about what that, how they feel about that and what that means. It's the three of them, Alfred, Bruce, and Damien. That's who it should be in that moment. And the dog being there, I echo your sentiments before. You're saying how great the dog is. I think there's something great about that. But that leading to that closing panel, that I want as a poster.
And you know what? I got another confession to make. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize Damien was flying. I thought he was swinging.
No, he's flying.
I agree with you. He's 100% flying. And I'm like, because at first I was just thinking, speed, invulnerability, and super strength. I wasn't thinking flight. So we got flight as well. Oh my God.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And you think back to the that 5 year later jump that they did with Teen Titan, where we saw Heretic and we were debating who is that? Well, that was Damien. That was actually Damien in a Heretic costume. So somewhere from here to there, he goes to Heretic style, not Robin. So what happens there? Or will it actually happen? Won't it happen? What's the deal with that? I'm like, man, that's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait to see where that all goes. It's really just been a great story arc with a great conclusion. The timing of the year to have this conclusion, I think, is something we all wanted to see. Our next discussion is going to be of Batman Superman number 17. Greg Pak is the writer. Ardian Syaf, it's Syaf, apologies for any name butchery there, in pencils. Sandra Hope Archer and Jonathan Glapion on inks. Ulysses Areola on colors. Rob Leigh letterer. Ardian Syaf, Danny Mickey, and Ulysses Areola on cover. Leandro Fernandez and Andrew Dahlhaus on the variant cover. Darwin Cook on the variant cover number 2. Jeremy Bent, associate editor. Eddie Berganza, the group editor. Apologies for any name butchery, because I'm really digging this book. This one and the Superman Wonder Woman book are two books that I'm really enjoying, because they're showing us with these characters what their interactions are like. What is their friendship like? What is their working relationship like in the New 52? Something that was very well established in the previous universe, but not so much here. Books like this are really hammering home that these are characters that respect each other. They have a working relationship together. Sometimes there's some butting of heads because of the fact that they do react so differently. In this case, where we've got Superman's version of the Joker, a agent of chaos who's really reacting to Superman in a way that Superman just can't handle. Superman can't get ahead of this guy. This guy's ahead of Superman all the time. Superman is getting paranoid. He's under the assumption that this is one of his traditional villains. It's not Brainiac, because we know what happened to Brainiac. It's not Luthor, but Superman assumed it was Luthor. He's trying to find who is that person who can do this, that would know how to take down those closest to him with the kind of technology and resources on Earth that this being has. We are 2 issues into this story arc, and we still don't know.
No.
We've got a voice. without a face. I love the way this story's being delivered. I don't care who it is at this point. I kind of hope it's a new villain, though. I would love to see a new villain introduced into the mythos. I would be fine if it is, a classic villain that they're kind of reworking. Any way you cut it, it's going to be, a great ending to this story. But I'm really enjoying the way that it's developing. And the interaction between the two of them, Batman and Superman in this, I think is just plain priceless. We talked in the last two discussions about how consistent the Bat books are being, that they feel a part of the same universe. I would go with this book in particular. Greg Pak is delivering a home run because this book feels very much like it's a part of not just the Superman world, but the Batman world. That's hard to do, because both of these characters feel like you're plucking them right out of, their various books. You and I wanted to start talking some Superman, which we're going to talk more next episode. I really wanted to, I think this book, you suggested this one, I really wanted to discuss this because I think that's the key to it. Great bridging material. If you're like a Batman fan, you're like, I kind of want to know a little bit more about DC's Superman, but I'm reading Batman. You really should be picking up this book. You're a Superman fan. You don't have the budget for a Batman book, but you're like, you want a Batman fix? This is the place to go because you're still getting your Superman, but at the same time, you're getting really good Batman here. This book has delivered all the way through. I honestly, this is 17 issues
17,
in?
yeah.
17 issues of this book, and it's just consistently delivered. I think it was an annual. Did they do an annual?
Yes.
Yeah. So, they just consistently have delivered with this title, a book that feels like it matters to the universe. And there's something to that, and I'm really quite enjoying it. I don't know, are you in the same place with this title?
Oh, God, yeah, big time. And it's funny, as you were talking, I'm just nodding my head saying, yeah, this is that same Batman that we just talked about those last two issues. This is the same Superman that I'm seeing in action, I'm seeing in Superman, I'm seeing in Justice League. This is something that, these group editors and these editors are doing and I'm going to assume this has got to be an editorial type thing where they're keeping things control. It's a creative thing where you've got these writers and these artists who are, again, it's a respect for what people have done before them. It's a respect and love of the character. They're not just throwing a story together and saying, here, this will cover this month. No, you could see these are actual labors of love. These are stuff that they want to tell. These are stories that they're letting them do their thing. But also, again, these are characters. They're well interconnected. They feel the same type of person. And I was so excited because I didn't know what was going on with this. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my God, this is his version of the Joker. What could this possibly be? Because we talked about the Joker being just that same level of intensity that Batman is. So now we're going to have that same level of intensity that we have in Superman, but it's instead of the super, super good, it's that super, super evil. It's that I want to watch the world burn type of mindset. I'm going to kill everyone that you love. You gotta love that sentiment in a nasty, massive villain like we're dealing with right now. And we don't even have a name for Joker Superman yet. We don't have any idea of what this thing could possibly be. And two issues that I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm looking forward to the next issue. I want more info on this guy. I'm with you. I'm thinking it's a brand new villain, and I'm excited for the new villain. Who's this going to be? This, to me, kind of like reminds me of the that mindset I had when I first read and first heard about Doomsday. Of, well, you mean somebody can actually kill Superman? Oh yeah, you got to read this. Like, oh my God, it's that same level of we've got somebody super nasty on Superman's level who can do this to him. I'm like, wow, I gotta see this guy.
I hope this book's not getting lost in the shuffle. Just in the sense that because it's it's a Batman Superman book, they're telling their own stories. It's not a part of the big events of either title. Either the Superman books or the Batman books. Well, although no, it didn't cross over into Doom, did it? That was Wonder Woman and Superman that did that.
Wonder Woman and Superman did.
Yeah, I've actually quite liked that these have been very contained stories. I liked their tie-ins with like Earth 2 and stuff like that. I thought that was really terrific in this. I kind of like that it's its own thing that feels very closely connected. The Luthor-Superman confrontation, I thought was incredibly well written. Because there's another character. Loving what they're doing with Luthor in Justice League right now. I like that this feels like that Luthor. He still feels creepy, still feels like a bad guy, but he also feels like, Lex Luthor in control of the situation and not the least bit afraid of Superman.
Yeah. I love that Superman, my hero. I love just that moment with Lex. Even he was just like fractions away from dying, he still's got the attitude. He's still got the strut, even though he's laying on the ground bleeding, badly and massively messed up. He's still Lex Luthor. Somewhere in the back of his head, he was thinking, I could have gotten out of that. I could have figured out a way of getting around that. I would have survived. I'm Lex Luthor. But he still doesn't give that complete thank you to Superman.
People are getting murdered with invisible bullets that strike with superhuman force and leave no trace. Who else has the knowledge and power for that? Off the top of my head, you! You're one of the few entities on the planet I can think of who can actually puncture my armor. And yeah, I just saved your life. Yes, which is what fellow Justice League members should do for each other. So it's a wonderful thing we're acting like teammates and not accusing each other of terrible crimes, isn't it? Just that whole debate. Lex Luthor the man was out and down. He's up and taking control of the situation to the point where he spanked down Superman right there. What is Superman going to say to that? That's Lex Luthor's power. Wow, does he take control and charge of a situation? This is the man who's built up an empire. There's something to seeing how that all played out. I love that led into this discussion of, you don't understand. What just happened to me now is going to have an effect on the market. Talk about relevance of stories. Talk about evolution of stories. We talk about all the time, if you see on the news nowadays, it's always big how events happening in the world to specific lead figures of companies will have major effects on the stock. What happened to Lex Luthor would have that effect. What happened to these other two critical players around the world not only affected the world at large, but Lex is like, hey, it affected me too. So Superman, can you get out there and do your job before I lose another $1 billion? I mean, it's great stuff. Really good, strong dialogue that feels very today, very current, and very relevant to the same type of topics you would be dealing with on the news today. This is what comics do really well. They are a pop culture source that reflects the issues facing people currently today. Art imitates life. It really makes social commentary about what's going on in the world. This book really delivered that really well. It's very smart writing, and it's one of the reasons why it's one of those books I forget about. And when I say I forget about it, I talk about all these books that I'm enjoying and loving. I don't mention this in that same light. And out of all 17 issues in the annual in this one, I've constantly felt that way. This is just a great book. I stockpile this sometimes, not because of the fact of quality. I stockpile it sometimes just because I've got so many books that I'm reading that there's times where I will read Superman, Batman, and I'm reading 2 or 3 issues together at a time because I got behind on it. It's not because of any drop in quality. I would never drop it. I actually quite enjoy reading it that way. Yeah. Sometimes it's fun with the way these arcs are structured in this. Just read a couple books at a time. It belongs in my stack. I need it there. It's just a great, great book. It is one of those that it's a great example of when I stockpile a book, I try to read a few issues before I make a decision as far as do I keep it, do I drop it, and that type of thing. And usually time is the factor that makes that decision. There's only so many hours in a day. I'm finding time is my problem with comics more now than the financial concern. I don't have the time to read all the great stuff that I want to read. This is a book, when I start reading the arc, I'm like, oh, I could never drop this. It's so good. It really is so good. It's a very good book.
Oh, God, yeah. And it's funny because with this title, there was a couple of times when I stockpiled it. It was never even a consideration for getting cut because I was enjoying it. But like you, I put it aside. Well, I'll get caught up because there's other big interconnected stories. With this story arc going on now, there is no stockpiling of this one. This is one of those ones where I'm jumping to first and foremost just because of what the story they're telling right now. Just because of everything that's happening, how they've done a great job laying out even from the selecting of the Superman targets. Lex Luthor, Superman's greatest foe. You've got this general who is the architect for the peace process in Kahndaq, and then you've got this pop princess. I was like, okay, why'd they go with her? But later on, you see the interconnection. And you remember that story where earlier she was thinking about jumping. She was thinking about, killing. And Superman's the one who talked her out of it. And she went and she inspired hope in all these children and all this wonderful stuff that she was, she took the lessons that Superman taught her about not throwing away and not just about, continuing and living on. And she was passing it on to the to this current generation. And I loved seeing how this, evil entity really picked his targets or her targets. I keep saying his, but this could be a female. We don't know yet. Targets very well that it's beyond just an initial, damage. There's the damage, then multiple layers of, what's going to happen just because they died. I love that concept, and just again, we have this really super nasty villain that's super intelligent. It has this absolute wonderful level of strategery that is worthy of a Superman foe.
No Superman foe is worthy of strategery.
This one is. This one's worthy of strategery.
You just knocked him down 2 pegs. I want to comment on art on this. It's one of the reasons why I really apologize for any name butchery. There's the page I'm looking at right now is the one where he's talking about when he saved the general, and you see Superman flying and using his heat vision. The costume. I gotta tell you, I am finding that I really adore this Superman costume when it's sleeker. You see the line work that clearly shows it's a suit of armor, but it's sleeker. It's more form-fitting to Superman. It doesn't, we don't need 87 gazillion layers on this. It shouldn't look like Lex's armor. When it looks like that and sleek, the suit really grows on me. It becomes a hybrid of like some of the more armored versions of it we've seen in the New 52. The classic Superman costume that we all know and love. I really quite like it when I see it on these pages. I've talked about over since the New 52 started, certain artists that have really loved their take on this costume. I really loved the take of Superman's costume in this book. It looks really sleek. He looks powerful in it. The suit doesn't look powerful. He looks powerful in it. There's a distinction there between the two. I don't want the suit to ever overtake Superman. This sense, like Batman suits should look like they're protecting him. There should be some element of protection to that. And I want a certain part of that to a Batman suit. Still not going too crazy with it. In Superman's case in particular, if this suit overtakes Superman, you got a huge problem. Really huge problem. It should be the man that overtakes the suit, not the suit that overtakes the man. I love the visual of this suit. It looks it looks like he's powerful in it.
Yeah.
That's the distinction with him. There's something to that. Batman's suit does that same thing for him, but it's different because it's Batman and he's human, and it should be. Superman's, it should look like this. There's that da-da-da that you talk about all the time. There's a majesty to him in that suit. This artwork is just in particular. That scene was breathtaking to me. I really loved that. When that moment, you should be in awe of Superman. Superman's one of those characters, when he's done right, you should be in awe of him. I was there. Good artwork.
And I'm going to echo everything you said and add to it, because I completely agree with you how that costume did have that majesty. And I love just that blasting. But then you have the 2-page, when you have the next page side by side with the two of them.
Yes.
Where you have this massive action where he's going through destroying the missiles. Equal number on either side, trying to just postpone any future escalation, trying to, just maybe can keep the dream of peace alive by, eliminating just enough from each side. But then you go to Seoul where there's nothing to punch. So I just walk and think. Glory's real name was Felicity Regan. Before she became Glory, she tried to jump off a building, but we talked and she decided to keep living. And that's exactly why the killer picked her, isn't it? I never felt so guilty and helpless and angry. And I love just that scene where he's walking, holding the lantern with all the people, with the glory forever, and just all just how just you have that majestic moment on the one side, the calm of sadness, and then you got that the fiery red eyes and blowing up missiles and tanks and whatnot, and you got that dun 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 Superman power, but then you got that human side of him, and I'm like, those two pages side by side are absolutely wonderful, especially just the dialogue being told, just everything, that visual look on his face, equally majestic in that costume, humble, human, and just wonderful. Just he doesn't look like he's out of place. He looks like he's right where he belongs.
It's something only Superman can do. Like, that visual is Superman. I mean, that Superman can do that. He can be in one page catching missiles and doing that. The next page, be in the middle of people and having that solemn moment and being a part of humanity. That's Clark Kent. The Clark side's really important to him. You need to have that there. That's that humanity to him that you won't see Batman doing that. You might see Bruce Wayne, but you won't see Batman doing that.
Right.
Superman, you can see him in multiple roles. He's able to have that humanity as Superman. There's something to that in that moment that is something uniquely Superman. I really quite enjoyed that too. I love the Star Lab sequence with Hector Hammond. The fact that they've got to wear different headpieces on it. I like that when Batman walks into the room, because Hector is such a psionic, with the psychic power or I guess psychic powers, mental powers, whatever you want to call it, telepathy. It's so strong that even with the dampener on, it's going to have an effect on you. The idea of having to give up a memory and the fact that we can't risk Batman's strategy there. Strategery, if you will. Batman's strategy of saying that it shouldn't be Superman, it should be him, because you can't risk Hector Hammond taking over Superman. That is Batman.
Yeah.
That's in the big picture of things. If there's one of the two of them, I've had training. I'm Batman. I loved that line. So great. But true. You can't have Superman do it. You need Batman to do it. He's the best choice to kind of target a memory that he's willing to give up for Hector Hammond. Something that Hammond would value, but Batman would be willing to part with. There's a distinction there. That terror in that sequence, I would not be... It actually stepped me up wow, Batman really is kick butt. I would not be comfortable with anyone poking into my head and taking something out of it permanently, because that memory's gone. Batman will not remember that. It's not something that you could tell Batman and Batman would remember. It's gone. You've given up a part of your life. It will no longer be there for you. That creeps me out. I saw my grandmother go through Alzheimer's. I think it's one of the scariest diseases, because just this idea of losing your mental faculties, and she had an awareness of it, but denial, if that makes sense. Like when she was going through it, because it was something that scared her. It wasn't something that, like, I've seen people go through dementia and Alzheimer's, and I'm not trying to overgeneralize those things, but I've seen people that just because of who they are in their background, they're able to have like real discussions with their family about it and say, I know this is happening to me, and they're able to talk to their family about it. My grandmother never hit that point. It was always she was very proud, and I think internally, I know internally knew, but was in denial with others about it. So I guess for me personally, having seen that, and I'm sure we've all been there, the idea of losing some part of your mind and having somebody root around in your head is creepy to me. And I love shows like The Tomorrow People and stuff like that. I'm talking about the BBC, version from Thames. And I like the newer version when they did it, with characters and X-Men, with Professor X and Jean Grey and stuff like that, with the idea of these, characters. But the idea of a character like Hector Hammond rooting around in your head creeps me out. I just think that is one of the scarier things that I see in comics. And that sequence, I just found it visually, what a great job with that Joker, with Hector Hammond there, but also just this idea that Batman would do that. There's something, it kind of upped my already intense love of Batman, seeing that he would do this and there was a strategy behind it. I just thought it was a great sequence.
Oh God, yeah. And even just, you get that awesome, wonderful creepiness that goes right into, okay, what's next? Who do we have? What are the possibilities? And they start narrowing it down to just one target in Metropolis. And I love the fact that Clark is just so fixated that it's got to be Luthor. He's the only person capable of doing this. Like, no, this one's a little bit more alien, which leaves us to Lobo. And when I first saw that, because it's his image on the cover, his face image, it's on the cover there. And I'm like, Lobo can't be behind this. It's got to be somebody other than Lobo. And almost immediately you're seeing that, yeah, it's not Lobo, but he's kind of curious as to what kind of gun can move faster than Superman and doesn't leave a trace. Makes sense for him. He's an assassin. That's something he would want to have. So he's doing his investigation. But just seeing Clark in such a state that he is just unloading immediately. No lengthy discussions. He's just opening up with, double fisting, blasting, and just knocks him a couple miles into the ocean, throws him into space. All types of we're seeing Clark on a level that he's never been before.
Get off my planet. Make me. Boom. Dang, Emily, I'm going to need a pickup. I loved that sequence. It's a great example of how to add humor into an intense storyline. I really appreciate writers that know how to do this. We talked about on this episode the fun factor. There's got to be some fun in there too. But there's a fine line between humor, smiling, chuckles in a book, and slapstick that takes away from the story. Subtle sequences like this don't take away anything from who Lobo is or Superman is, but it's funny. This is stuff that you'd laugh at and chuckle about and high five in a movie theater. Seeing that, it's very cinematic. There's something to that I just found fantastic. It's really a cool story.
Now, just this great ending, because we're seeing all the different people that could possibly be targets, and they're each one secured, and it gets to the point where we need some bait, and it's Lois Lane, and I'm like, oh my God, how awesome is this? Do you actually think that's Lois, or is that somebody in disguise as Lois?
I think it's Lois. That doesn't mean that Lois is going to be the actual base, because what you're talking about is, I'm thinking, like, how are they going to play this out? There may be something like that, but I do think that's the real Lois right now, because they've got to take her off the shelf so she's not in two places. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
If what you're saying is going to happen, where there's a duplicate or something like that, she has to be protected. I don't know what that's going to look like, or it may actually be Lois and they protect her, but I'm just glad to see more Lois. I do think if there's one of the things I want to see more of in the New 52, it's Lois Lane. I want to get to know more of Lois Lane in the New 52. I feel like we know her, but I don't feel like she's as richly developed as I would like. And I think why it's suffering so much is she's not in the relationship with Superman.
Yeah.
There is something to that. We don't know her the way we did in the previous universe, because we got to know her through her regular interactions with Clark. We're seeing it, but she's a background character. She isn't in the foreground with Clark. I do miss that about their relationship. I miss that about their marriage, because we got to know her more as really heavy supporting cast, not secondary supporting cast, which she's been relegated to now because of her role. And I do think it's a detriment to the character, not taking anything away from how much I'm enjoying the Superman-Wonder Woman relationship. I'm digging it. When I see her in the sequence, I'm like, oh yeah, Lois Lane. And I really did feel, I'm like, yeah, Lois, I miss her. I don't feel like I know her the same way that I do in the previous universe, and I want to see more of her. So, yay, more Lois.
Yeah. And it's funny because you do wonder, because this is a mental creature. Obviously has mental abilities, because that's how he's communicating with them. Mm-hmm. So even if they did do, because I'm just throwing around ideas I had, even if they did use a decoy, say like Martian Manhunter or some other shapeshifter, if this is a mental creature, they're going to know the trick.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
So they're actually going to have to put Lois Lane in jeopardy.
Yeah, you're right.
But
you're right.
A great story for her.
Yeah, this stuff is going to be a very interesting. Yeah, and see, you're right, and that's one of the things that I enjoy about it. I want to see a great Lois story, so I'm just cool with it. What a really well done book. I mean, I just think they incorporate a lot of what we love from both characters' universes. a lot of what we love about both characters interacting with the DC universe in general. And that really is what the book should do. I like that it doesn't feel beholden to be an event book. Like I don't have any issue if it ties into events or it's a part of events or things like that. I like that it's not forced into that, though, because I think it's been better for the stories. They've been able to explore and go to some places that other books haven't been able to. I like that they do crossover, like with what they did with World's Finest. I thought was great. Yeah. So I'm not against that with this book at all. I like that the choices are driven by story, not by being forced. So I will hope to see more of it coming from, more touching onto the DC universe with ways like they're doing with Lois Lane. It's great use of Lois Lane in this so far.
Oh God,
I want to see.
Amen. Our next discussion will be Green Lantern Annual number 3. The writer is Robert Venditti with pencils by Billy Tan, Mark Irwin with Mark Daring and Livesey and inks, colorist Alex Sinclair, Taylor Esposito and DZ Cienti on letters, Ethan Van Sciver and Alex Sinclair on cover, with Darren Shane as associate editor and Matt Idelson as group editor.
I want to give a shout out real quick. If you're enjoying Venditti's work on Green Lantern, you really need to pick up Valiant's Exo-Man of War. It's tremendous. It's another space opera. The idea is you got this Arik from Dacia. This idea that he is this ancient barbarian from a barbarian warrior tribe that gets this suit. They get taken by this alien race. They're captured and held like in a slave ship, and time passes very quickly. They come back to Earth in modern times, and he's got this suit of armor, Exo-Man of War suit of armor, that is alive. Because of this suit, when he comes back to Earth, he's coming back to claim his kingdom again. Well, imagine like a being coming from the far past with a alien suit of armor trying to reclaim their kingdom in our times. The world would throw a fit. It plays off of that. So it's really just a terrific book. I'm not doing it justice because I'm giving you like a very Cliff Notes version of it, but they just had this really cool story called Armor Hunters that had a miniseries that went along with it, with the idea that these the suit of armor, because it's alive and sentient, if you lose a hand, it tries to repair it. But what it does is it actually replaces your hand with the suit. It builds a new hand for you, but it's actually part of the suit. So you start to become more suit than human, if that makes sense. Yeah. To the point where the suit's it's starting to gradually take you over. And if you let it, it will. And it starts to replicate itself in its host. So it's kind of a almost a virus of sorts. So there's a creep factor to it as well, besides the fact that the suit's super cool. So these armor hunters are coming saying that, no, these suits there's multiple of them throughout the universe, and they've actually caused the death of species. It's just a cool story. It's a different sort of take on. It's not like Iron Man light. I think Venditti's done a great job of taking the Exo-Man of War concept and what worked with it in Valiant, modernized it a bit, while at the same time keeping all of the qualities that we know and love with Exo-Man of War, like Arik being the guy in the suit. It's really great stuff, and I can't recommend it highly enough, especially if you're a fan of the Green Lantern books and the writing that's going on by Robert Venditti right now. I just think Robert Venditti's delivering really great comics. So I wanted to shout that book out in particular before we get started here. We didn't know, when you and I talked about this, we figured there'd be another issue in this storyline, because I don't always pay attention to releases. I just get my box and see the titles that are coming out, and oh, cool. We had 3 books that came out since our last discussion, including the finale, which I didn't realize was in the annual. Because a lot of times I'm like you, I pay attention loosely to the solicitations, looking for new titles that are coming out and books that are being canceled. But I try to stay away from the blurbs because I don't want to know what's happening in my storylines before I read them. So I didn't realize that this finale was in an annual. I'm so glad it was, because it's such a big story. And what I loved about this finale for myself was, with the fact that they delivered the ending inside an annual, you were able to have some really strong heroic moments at the end of a war, where we got to see Hal Jordan be Hal Jordan and what separates him from Sinestro. To me, the cleanup from the war was just as interesting, if not more interesting and character defining than the war itself. And I'm actually complimenting that. It's great to see a hero like Hal be a hero and step up and say, it's not just about saving our people. It's about saving anybody in danger. As Green Lanterns, we have responsibility to do that. These people, these new gods, this new Genesis, he could have let them die. He, could have said, hey, spoils of war. That's what ends up happening. You go up against us. He didn't. He stepped up. There was something to that I thought was really great. That's what makes Hal an inspiration, an inspiring hero. I thought it was a great way in the New 52 to show readers maybe who didn't grow up with Hal what we all love about Hal. That was a Hal moment. And that's what I've always loved. That's why he's been my guy. He's my Green Lantern. In that moment, I thought it was really great to see Hal being at his core what I think makes Hal different.
And especially given, some of the missteps we had from Hal as the leader of the Corps. Mm-hmm. Where he was on that kick of got to strip all the rings, got to do this, and just he wasn't exactly the Hal we are used to. He was being more, he was adjusting to a new position, making decisions he thought was the right thing, but in reality, a lot of the guys in the Corps saying, hey, dude, this ain't right. We're Green Lanterns. This isn't how we're supposed to be. Right there, you get a defining moment of what a Green Lantern is. And I love seeing just, echoed along with you, Sinestro recognized the moment saying, hey, your enemy, the children of your enemy becomes your future enemy. We get a chance to get rid of all of them right now. We ain't doing anything. He's like, Yellow, we're out of here. And I loved it. Again, it fit Sinestro. It fit how he looked at things, how he looked at the scenario. Hal had to step up. That's what you do when you're the good guy. That's what you do when you're a hero. That's what you do when it's your mission is to protect and serve, not to conquer. That's what the Green Lantern Corps is. And I loved seeing that moment where he goes in and he knuckles up after this massive battle. Again, it was those really cool, hoorah moments for me seeing Hal do that.
Missteps and Hal hitting rock bottom is something that's a part of Hal's history. Hal is human. Everything we say about Hal as a hero and what we expect him to be as a Green Lantern leader is true. But Hal making mistakes along the way, to me, it's not the mistakes. The mistakes are what makes us identify with him as a human. He doesn't settle for those mistakes. He learns from them, and he becomes something more rising out of them. That's Hal Jordan. He's not perfect. I've always identified with that with Hal. So the way they've been writing him, I think, has been great. The trick is you don't leave him in that spot. You show him rise above it, rise out of it, become something more, learn from it. Not be afraid to apologize, not be afraid to own up and do something about it. That's something that I think we all have trouble with. It's one thing to recognize you've goofed. It's one thing to recognize you were misguided and you made mistakes. We all do that. That's part of life. It's another thing to actually step up and do something about it. Hal did that, and I really liked it. I think it's something it's very genuine Hal, and it was something that I thought was really great in this storyline. That at the end, we see him not only through the fact that he went to Black Hand, and Black Hand all of a sudden is, where else do you go? Hal is the risk taker. He's the daredevil. He is the test pilot. He's the guy that's going to go where angels fear to tread. All right, we're not winning. We've got to do something that they would never expect us to do. They've taken every other ring but the black ring. Why? This is where I got to go. I got to go to Black Hand. And I'm so glad that they did it this way, where he went to Black Hand, because of the eccentric way that Black Hand is, Hal enticed him, because he knows his enemy, to become a part of this war with his own unique crazy. I love the way Black Hand was written in this.
Yeah, I completely did not. When they were first talking about him going to Black Hand, I was like, that's crazy. What are you doing? And I had no idea, didn't see any of this coming with taking Black Hand to the Source Wall. and actually pulling from the source wall. And when that happened, that was multiple page fold out spread. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. Because again, completely didn't see it happening. Didn't see it coming. Was, just everything on the level of the planning they had going with Sinestro using his little, I can't think of the name of the Yellow Lantern who sacrificed themselves. The little minute one, the little bit one who infected the boom tubes. You've got Sinestro leading them to the source wall. You've got Sinestro opening the source wall for them to get back to New Genesis. You've got all these different, levels of the planning that went into this completely just, kind of shoot from the hip, but it wasn't a shoot from the hip. It was, again, that kind of Hal Jordan plan where he kind of knows what he's doing, but he doesn't completely know how it's going to go.
Well, he didn't see the source wall coming. I really like that nobody saw the source wall coming, because for us as the readers, it played out that way.
Yeah, it's that Hal Jordan we're talking about. It's that style of let's go with this, and it worked.
The unpredictability of that, though, with the fact that those creatures started coming back to life, I thought was really great. It all started getting out of control. It set up a scenario where the New Gods and the Lanterns had to team up. I love that Kyle has got this curse. Kyle's, because he's gone to the other side of the source wall, he really is the host for the white light, for the life equation. It's going to destroy him. It's a huge responsibility. Knowing that you've got that kind of power and accepting that, by taking this burden on, there's something super cool about being the White Lantern, but it's going to kill me. I love that twist. And it sets Kyle apart as being, it's everything I love about Kyle. Kyle is the type of hero that when he was a Green Lantern, he was the only one. He had to take that responsibility on himself, and he eventually built a corps again, and he got this all going again. This Kyle is doing something so similar with the White Lantern. He's set aside. He's something different. He is a leader in his own right by what he takes on. I loved the way that this all played out. I love that he had to have the conversation with Hal about Carol. I liked that conversation wasn't clean. Hal, is like, dude, with what you've been doing, I gotta, knuckle up with you and all that and just go, hey, hoorah. I'm not having that chat completely right now. Sorry, pal. We can't, at some point, Carol and I will talk. Just don't hurt, be there for her and, don't hurt her and all that kind of stuff. It was pure guy code talk. But I really loved how that was written because it so felt natural between these two guys that are friends and comrades in an awkward situation. I'm glad that they had that moment because that adds a sense of reality to me in the whole thing. But I loved the way the Kyle storyline played out.
Yeah, and I like the fact that, because we talked earlier about with the usage of Bat Cow, how there's little whimsical moments that don't take away from the action, don't take away from the intensity. With Kyle and dealing with the Guardians, really? All this time? Once again, we've been keeping something from you. What a surprise. You get this kind of this banter going on between Kyle and the Guardians and Carol and the Guardians. There is a levity to it when they're talking about something serious about the fact that he has this price of power, that it's going to kill him and he's going to die from it. And it's something that's going to happen and they've been keeping it from him. And he's got to embrace who he is and eventually know he's going to die. I love just how there was seriousness and amazing that thing, but they still had a little bit of levity to it. They still had some enjoy. There was still some fun to it because that's Kyle. That is Kyle's style. So they're still not losing that. We have these great Hal Jordan moments, but we also have these great Kyle moments.
Yeah, and that's really, I'm with you. That stuff is really important. I want to feel like these are living people, and that levity and those moments that are there. The Guardians feel very alien. They think they know everything that's right for everything else. They're manipulative. They've always been. I mean, as creatures, they feel very alien. There's times where you love the Guardians and you rally behind them. There's other times where they just don't get us and we don't get them. And there's something cool to that these alien races, not every one of them should feel human. It's nice that more and more we're seeing alien races that they're different planets, they're different cultures, they're different mindsets. There's a reality to that. And with that they need to understand us and we need to understand them. There's a diplomacy almost that goes along with it. And you're right, a humor that goes along with it that I think is really rich and makes these stories interesting. We've said it many times, to follow the creative teams that this group did how do you do that? Boy, are they doing a great job without trying to deliver the same thing that those creators delivered. They're delivering their own unique stories here. This felt epic. And I loved seeing the return of St. Walker.
Yes.
It would have meant nothing if there wasn't that great build, but him seeing Kyle and finally this sense of, wait a minute, if Kyle's here and the White Lantern is able to replenish, it does mean all will be well. We can use these powers and they will replenish, if needed. Things will just work out. I don't know how they'll work out. I just have hope that they will work out. I can take on this responsibility again and be that being, that Zen-like being of St. Walker. It was so cool to see it. The artwork of him popping back into costume. It's amazing at how much I've grown to love the character of St. Walker. I was glad that he had a great moment in this. That was uniquely St. Walker.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, there was just such really cool moments throughout this, leading up to it, like with Highfather's, the hubris of a god, where he realizes what he's done.
Yes.
He realizes, especially love the fact that, again, Hal Jordan's the one pointing out to it, you built an army to defeat Darkseid. Guess what? You've become Darkseid. And just that moment where he's realizing everything and everything's crumbling around him. And as this is going on, you've got all these greens. And I love that scene where before, St. Walker comes back and before they're all super powered, you have all these green beams going underneath. They're trying to lift it up. They're trying to do something. They're trying to stabilize the planet, and it's just crashing. And then you get that all will be well. Power level 300%. Boom. That's it. It was just a great ending sequence where you've got this, these realizations of these characters of the folly of their ways and just, okay, it's time to go on. It's time to move forward. And I was like, yes! I was, again, another one where I was hoorahing and just absolutely loving story being told as well as visuals being told.
Guy, John, and Hal flying off together at the end. Is it just me or the guy-to-girl ratio thing? Following Highfather with his idea that, no, I need to rebuild this myself because I need to rebuild trust. There's something about that, seeing him as a leader, accepting his own role. This takes me back to, I grew up with Highfather in Justice League crossovers. That was more where I knew the character as a youth. And one of the things that I always liked about the character was this sense that he had a respectful relationship with DC's heroes. They respected him, he respected them. This moment took me back to those crossovers. I remember a crossover where the Justice League and the JSA went up against Darkseid, the returning Darkseid, and Highfather took place in that. And it was this type of relationship. It's nice to see it organically come through a big story like this, where Highfather starts off as the villain of the piece. And in the end, in discovering the error of his ways, there is a greater understanding between him, the Green Lanterns. You see a bridge here where their interactions in the future will be different. I love the interactions of Light Ray and Orion and just the various new gods. I want to ask you this, with this story coming to a conclusion now, you and your feelings about the new gods, they're not characters you've been interested in. You've referenced that many times in the show where you don't dislike them. You just haven't really had this deep connection to them. Where are you at now that this storyline's over? Because this really was a epic introduction of them into the New 52 in a way that we haven't seen on this level. Where are you at with these characters now?
See, I'd like to see more now. I would like to see the reconstruction of New Genesis and just see how Highfather deals with his people, deals with the humans. This story, especially the ending where he had this, we got to see him learn and respect the human race and learn and respect other people and know that, hey, I'm not, just because I call myself a new god, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. I am going to make mistakes. And it's that humility that he received throughout this, that he makes him a character that I'm curious about. And there was some great sequences with Orion. I absolutely love that guy now because I liked seeing him when he was in Wonder Woman for a little bit, his interaction with Wonder Woman. And then here you just see the constant warrior ready to throw down. And even throughout this fight, when it looked like the New Genesis was in complete trouble, and he's like, hey, if we die for New Genesis. And you have that hoorah moment of him rallying and coming in and just fighting overwhelming odds, that even to the point where, hey, he's always ready to go. He's ready to throw down. But, you can see there is a respect and an understanding that he's even starting to get. I want to see, I would read some more of this issues and more of this stuff for these characters.
Now, that creature at the end coming through the source wall, was that something trapped in the source wall or coming through from the other side?
I'm thinking that was something from the other side coming through, because the one scene between the two Guardians where the ones, none understood the implications of what was loosened today. Quiet, brother. That is a matter to be discussed in seclusion, as is the matter of Kyle Rayner's future. I'm thinking they recognize the fact that by doing what they did, they've kind of, opened the doorway into what's on the other side, or opened the doorway into something else. So that wasn't in the source wall. That's coming through the source wall.
But in the meantime, they're not telling their allies this.
Of course not. They're Guardians.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Crazy talking, tomfoolery.
Letting people know what to expect, that only would help them.
What a terrific, terrific ending to a story. I'm loving the Green Lantern books. I can't wait for more. I like when they leave an ending that leaves us in a place for more story. I want a clean ending, but I also want to feel like I'm excited for what comes next. I'm excited for what comes next here. I want to see where St. Walker goes from here. I want to see what happens with the Red Lanterns from here. I want to see what happens with Sinestro. I want to see what happens with the Green Lanterns. I want to see what happens with Kyle and the Guardians. And they've left so much on the table. And this new villain. There's so much on the table with a great ending and a conclusion. And I want to know what happens with the New Gods. I'm with you. I just thought this was really a great introduction to what the New Gods look like in the New 52. I was glad it ended with Highfather being a good guy.
Yes. I was very happy with that.
Yeah, it ended clean, and it leaves him in an interesting place for the Darkseid war that's coming.
Now, when is Convergence? When is that happening?
Was it April, I think? I don't have it in front of me right now. It's this year.
We still got a couple more months.
But there's also Justice League, the Darkseid war that's coming.
Yeah.
Whereas Convergence isn't Darkseid based.
No. But that's where we're losing some of the green titles, though. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought we were talking about Darkseid. No. Yeah. What happens after Convergence is going to be interesting.
Yeah, because you were seeing now the fact that Kyle is alive. I can see why they're maybe getting rid of the New Guardians title, but I in a way I don't want them to, because I like the fact that there was a book where Kyle was the focus, and there was a book where John was the focus. There's a book where Hal's the focus, and there's a book where Guy is a focus. I like seeing all the different the different Green Lantern titles, because it gives those different characters a primary focus area.
They're going to launch new books, though.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, they're canceling way too many books. I'm sure they're launching new books out of Convergence. The storyline from Convergence, there's going to be new number ones. I'm assuming there's going to be more green books coming out of Convergence. I'm assuming. We'll see. I could be very wrong. I do think that I don't know. I don't think none of the books that were being well, I shouldn't say none of them. A lot of the books that were being canceled didn't look like they were being canceled because of sales numbers. They were being canceled because of storyline. Some of them were probably being canceled due to sales numbers as well. But I'm sure that there's Convergence is going to, in a big way, because it's universe wide, going to leave major ramifications. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm really excited for that. I'm enjoying the stories right now. So I'm excited for an event that's going to shake things up a little bit, just as long as it leads to more great stories. That's what I want, more great stories. So this was a great story.
And this was an epic ending.
Yes.
You know, you have such a massive, massive story as this. You needed a massive ending, and this was something that, you know, it really hit for me, because it was funny because at the very beginning of this we talked about the fact that we didn't realize just how fast the ending was coming, but it wasn't like fast as rushed. It was fast because we didn't realize 3 issues were going to come out all in that same week, and you go bam, bam, bam right to the ending. So it was one of those, I was shocked and like, whoa, and then, but you're sitting there going, man, that is cool. They really, this was a great, you know, beginning, middle, and end of this storyline, of this, you know, this story arc. And then it opened up for the future stories, because you don't want just to end. You want it to end and have there be what's coming up next. You got the creepy hand. You got the mysteries of Kyle. You've got what is going on with the Green Lantern Corps now. What's going on with the blues? What's going on with the reds and yellows? There's, you know, so many different things that are going to play out through because of this. You know, that I'm like, dang, I'm excited.
I'm laughing because you sound kind of like a Lucky Charms commercial. Blue clovers.
Now I can get out of here.
Hey, Raging Bulleteers. This is Jason from the podcast that goes Snikt. I just want to say, you know, I have a confession to make. I usually do most of my podcast listening at work. And the last couple of months, I've been on some projects and stuff that have kind of cut into my podcast listening time. What's that about, right? But anyway, this last week, I have gone on a Raging Bullets marathon and caught back up because I really missed hearing the show. And yeah, I've got one episode left to be current, and I'll listen to that tomorrow. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you guys. Just love the show. Your passion for comics is literally contagious, and that's awesome. And besides being wildly entertaining and providing me with new favorite phrases like, and that's some tasty whatnot, which is probably my favorite thing y'all have ever said. But also, y'all are really valuable to listeners like me. You know, as a mostly somewhat responsible adult, you know, my comic budget has peaks and valleys. And, you know, the last kind of half of this year has been a time where I've had to kind of tighten the reins on my budget a little bit. And whenever those times come, it's always filled with tough choices on what to get and what not to get. And, you know, it's never really an easy decision because, I mean, if I could buy everything, I probably wouldn't. But anyway, one of the things that I've kind of had to temporarily cut for a little while because of all just the constant crossover, which I don't really mind from a storytelling standpoint, but it's just hard to buy all the books, and I've had to kind of cut out not the green books anymore, as Jim now calls them, which I like, the ring books. I've kind of had to take a little break from that, and I just want to say I really enjoyed hearing y'all talk about Godhead because, you know, I'm not able to read it right now. I hope to go back and catch it on trade later, you know, hopefully. But for now, I'm kind of missing out. But it's really cool that I can kind of keep up with it through you guys, and I just really enjoyed that. So I just want to thank you that besides being, you know, a fun show and entertaining, you also, you know, helping me keep my pulse on the story. And so I just think that's really cool. I want to say thank you. And so, anyway, I hope you guys have nice holidays, and I will talk to y'all later. Thanks again. Bye.
You know, one of the things I love about voicemails is the fact that we've got people who call in regularly, like Jason, you know, from the podcast that goes Snikt. We've become friends, and we've had this dialogue that goes through their voicemails. So it's nice to have people come on the show who, you know, we know and we have a history with from their voicemails. It is funny how we've talked a lot more, I think, in the past year about budgeting. Not just budgeting financially, budgeting time when it comes to comics. And it's funny how I think it's nice to hear more and more fans talk about it, and it's not a crabby thing. It's a reality thing. There's a difference between the tone. Like, it's nice to be able to talk about, like, hey, what do you do? How do you deal with those things? Because I think we all look for survival tactics to that. You know, how do we deal with the fact that we can't read or get everything that we want to get with the great comic product that's out there? And I love the ongoing dialogue, because I think it's an interesting discussion. I love, Jason just kind of said, hey, my budget, because of life, changed. So I had to, pare down books, and thank you. It was very nice comments. Thank you. I really appreciate the fact that when people listen to the show, they kind of keep in tune with certain books, because my hope is, like, budgets change. So if you want to jump back into the Green Lantern verse, hopefully by the fact that you heard us discuss Godhead, on this episode, you're able to just kind of pop back in, and, if you can't afford to go back and grab everything, you can just kind of say, okay, I'm going to jump into the Green Books now and get back in. So I'm glad to hear that when we have discussions about certain storylines that we're helping people that way. I wish we had, talk about time. Our time budget has been, I wish we were able to do more episodes so we could hit more of the books.
Yeah, I know.
So we could do more of that. I really appreciate that when we get that kind of feedback that, doing summaries of portions of storylines or whole storylines helps people that way. That's certainly an intention. Actually, a bonus intention to having our discussion of what we're enjoying about storylines. So that's great. I do the same thing with podcasts. I listen to podcasts about video gaming. I listen to comic book podcasts from many friends of our show who I've known over the years. I do marathons of quite a few different things. And a lot of it depends on, with my job, I can't always listen at work. As a matter of fact, I rarely can listen at work. So if I'm doing work at home, a lot of times I'm able to do that. I will listen to podcasts when I edit the show sometimes, which sounds like a strange thing, but I can listen to our podcast in one ear and, kind of catch ums, ahs, and I don't take out every single one of them. I really take out, when I edit the podcast, all the pauses, because I don't ever want listeners to hear dead air. When you and I are recording, I'll jot down notes when we have flubs on what the timestamp is for those flubs, so I know about where they are. So a lot of times I will listen to podcasts while editing our podcast, just because, time-wise, it helps pass the time, because editing takes a while for the podcast. Even taking out pauses, like an I'm looking right now, and just through our dialogue about this, I saw where I did an I'm like, oh, that's an So I can actually see it in the waves. Certain words will pop up. So that's how I can listen to something else and, like, spot check, which is kind of how I edit now. I do a lot more spot checking, just because I like to listen to other things, and it just keeps the whole process. It streamlines it. It actually gets us the episodes to you faster. Because you and I, time-wise, speaking of time, recording has been something that we've had to get a lot more clever about in the last year, especially. Because
God, yeah. And again, it's just, it's funny with budget, time for me has been the biggest issue. I've gotten, there are financial budgets. I'd love to get, branch into Marvel Universe, and I'd love to, go into Vertigo and do all the Vertigo titles and all this stuff. And I flat out, can't afford to do it, but I don't have the time to do it. There's, this is one of those weird, commitments that you have with this hobby, that it's not just financial, it's time. There's a lot of just different things pulling into it. And I can't imagine if I had an immediate family beyond this. I've got my parents, I've got my sisters, siblings and whatnot, but I don't have a wife and kids that I also have to balance time with them. So for all you who have that on top of, this wonderful addiction that we all share, kudos, man, because I don't know how I could, I'm barely finding time to keep things going here with this, that, if I had a whole nother person to consider it and be, thoughtful of, I don't know if I'd pull it off.
You know what I've learned to appreciate in recent years when we've talked about comics and the amount of competition they have with other medium. I've learned to appreciate the fact that there's too much great product for me to read within the time that I have. Forget financial budget. There's that element too. That's a good problem to have, versus saying, oh my gosh, I can't find a good book. We don't have that problem. We have way too many good books. It's one of the nice things in podcasting now, when we talks about getting caught up on books. Besides the fact we do a DC podcast. You were mentioning it, Jim, when we were off air. Like the blog of Oa and the podcast of Oa, they're Green Lantern focused. There's more and more podcasts out there. There's Batman focused podcasts. There's things like DC Noise. There's other podcasts out there that are talking about the DC universe. There's Superman podcasts. I'm not doing them all justice by, just kind of rattling off right now. But it's nice that if you're trying to stay caught up or find good jump on points back into books because your finances have eased up and you want to get back onto a certain line, podcasts are a great way to kind of find out where that point is for yourself. We're lucky that we have this kind of connectivity. Our Facebook group is a great community as far as, hey, I've been out of this book for a while. Let me pop into the Facebook group and find out what the group says. Where should I get back in to the book? Because that becomes an issue a lot of times if you don't have the time to read a backlog on titles. Where do you jump back in so you're a part of what's currently going on now? But that's part of I think it's part of the fun of the hobby. As a kid, I always had that same problem growing up, where I couldn't read every single title. I loved hunting down back issues at a bargain, and being able to get a bunch of them and read them. But there was, many times where I would jump in on a storyline. I had to figure out what was going on along the way, and we didn't have the internet to go and dig up, hey, what happened here? So you really had to read carefully and find clues from the other characters as far as, okay, what's going on? Who's who? What's their role in all this? And sometimes you jumped in mid-arc. Nowadays, we have the benefit of being able to reach out to others through podcasts and through forums and Facebook groups and, Google Plus and all that kind of stuff to kind of find out hey, what's going on with the title right now and where should I pop in to this book? So that helps out too with the budgeting, as far as getting yourself back into something when you're able to. I do love that the dialogue now is, because it used to be something, it was an anger when people would bring up budgeting with comics, oh, they're putting out so many books and I can't keep up with them all and all that kind of thing. It's, they're a business. they're going to do that. You have to just find your happy medium and be content with it. I've learned to do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm with you. Like when you said jumping back into Marvel, I love Marvel's books. Vertigo is another good example. I stockpile a lot of Vertigo. I love Vertigo. I just can't keep up with it time-wise. I get some Marvel, I would love to read all of it because I think Marvel's putting out some great product. I just started getting caught up recently on my Valiant books because I was stockpiling them for a while just because of time. And so I mentioned in the Green Lantern segment about Exo Manowar, I just got caught up to current issues in Exo Manowar, and I'm almost caught up on all of my Valiant books right now because I love that line. I think they're just producing some really quality work. But on top of that, I read, writers like Gail Simone, she's doing a lot of work outside of DC, in like Tomb Raider and Red Sonja and stuff like that. I follow all that stuff. I think it's just fabulous what she's doing, with both of those properties. I had never read Red Sonja. I did in Marvel Team Up and stuff like that. I remember, and I think I read a couple of her classic issues, from flea markets and stuff, but nothing that I would, be any kind of aficionado of Red Sonja. But when she was popping on Red Sonja, I immediately picked it up, and it's a phenomenal book. Yeah. So I stay caught up on that and Tomb Raider. I'm a big fan of the game. That's one, though, it's a great example of a writer who writes a good story, just really terrific stuff, beginning, middle, and ending. If you're not playing the games, you can really enjoy her work on Tomb Raider because it's a complete story with very well-developed characters that are featured in the game through the rich game story. I do think that's what's really great about properties now in comics, the fact that you can take a gaming property or a movie property or a TV show property. Those used to be throwaway comics. So far from the truth. Like Dark Horse's output on things like Buffy, I just think that stuff's great. I mean, it's like Buffy continued. It didn't stop. It's either Dynamite or IDW. I forget which. And I apologize off the top of my head. One of them is doing the $6 Million Man. They're continuing the $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman, I started reading those, and I'm really enjoying them. They're a continuation of the series from where it left off. So it's the next season, so to speak, of the show. Yeah, and it's good stuff. So I'm glad to see more of that popping up, where they're putting talent that understands the property, and they're writing it the way that you'd want it to be read. That's stuff that you want to read it like you feel like you're continuing the show, and I get nostalgic for that kind of stuff, especially when it's well written. Batman 66. Are you reading that?
I am now going to do with the trades and collected for Batman 66. I'm not getting the monthly.
The digital.
Digital or yeah. When they're collecting them into the hardcovers. I am getting the hardcovers.
Cool.
Because it'll be easier for me to read it and put it together. And I read a couple when they took them to floppy. I read a couple of those. I'm like, I like the concept of it. I'm like, I'm going to continue sporting this, but I'm not going to keep buying a monthly floppy, or I wasn't going to do just a digital of it. So I figured when I saw the collected hardcover, I'm like, that is something that'd be kind of neat to have on the bookshelf in the vault.
It's a really good, especially if you're enjoying right now watching, because now it's been released on Blu-ray and DVD and digitally, the Batman 66 show. If you're digging that is like a perfect companion to it, because it's a continuation of the series, and it's very well written, and it is very reminiscent of the classic TV series, while feeling like it's advancing it. And they actually just released a special that was a lost episode with Two-Face. So it's
really,
it's really, that kind of concept. So it's really good stuff that they're putting out there. So if you're a fan of Batman 66 and you haven't tried it, I highly recommend seeking it out, because it's really true. I could get it digitally. I like the weekly digital release of it. I'm with you though, that I like that it's being delivered in so many different ways. You can get the single issues, you can get it digitally, you can get it in hardcover. I like that. To me, I always hoped with digital that it would become more of like what the newsstand used to be, if that makes sense. So it's more accessibility for that fan that wants to jump onto comics. So I'm just glad to see that it's just available through more different methods. Hey, by the way, did you see? I don't know if you're a fan of Star Wars comics or anything at all, but Dark Horse lost the license. Marvel, because Disney bought Star Wars. Yeah. Marvel has the license for Star Wars starting in this coming year. Because of that, Dark Horse's last day to be able to sell Star Wars books is like January 1st. They're doing this crazy sale. It's for $300 you can get like every digital Dark Horse Star Wars comic, which sounds like a lot of money. It's a lot of books. I mean, it's an intense amount of books. It's the entire catalog. We're talking about like, the Zahn books were adapted. We're talking about, Knights of the Old Republic series, Empire, Legacy, the recent Brian Wood series. I mean, you're getting them for well under 99 cents an issue. Some of them were like one-shots and trade paperbacks, and if you're a Boba Fett fan, there were like many miniseries involving Boba Fett and Jango Fett and the Bounty Hunters. I mean, it's really good stuff. So, it's not normally our kind of thing. It was an interesting, obviously by the time this is released, that sale will be coming to a close or already closed, depending on when you listen to this. But I just think it's interesting when they release those sales. And Dark Horse, talk about licensed products, has always done very well with licenses. Aliens, Predator, Star Wars. It's just been really terrific stuff from them. So I can't wait to see what they do next. Tomb Raider, they're doing right now, I think is really good. So, cool.
Okay. This is Jack from Redlands, California. I want to talk about Secret Six. I'm thinking Marvel. The Secret Six book was excellent. I totally agree with you and Jim on the fact that it was way different from the original, or I guess not the original, but the Secret Six we saw in the previous universe. The Secret Six in the previous universe was my favorite title. Ragdoll, Bane, Deadshot, pretty much every single one of them. And then they took my favorite character, Penguin, and they put him in at the end, and that was like icing on the cake. And I really missed that book. I am glad to see that Gail was able to keep the concept, twist the concept in a different way, and give us a fantastic title yet again. I met Gail Simone only once, not like you guys, and she was the nicest person. But she is also probably my favorite writer. It's either her or Jeff Johns. And I was wondering, what character books, so they're going to do Convergence, okay? And then after Convergence, I guess I heard there was a lot of titles getting canceled. I don't know what they are. I would be interested if you guys do. You could let me know. That would be great. But along with Secret Six, and I don't want to lose Gail on Secret Six any more than you do, what title do you think would be good coming out of Convergence for Gail to take on? I would like to see her take on the Metal Men. And the reason is this. I know Jim's not a big fan of the Metal Men because he really doesn't know them very well. I know, Sean, you're much more familiar with them. But Gail is able to take projects like Catman, okay, and rebuild Bane's reputation and take these projects to a new high, a new level. She did this with every character on Sinister Six. And I think she would be great to do that with the Metal Men. Is there anybody else you think might get the Gail Simone treatment, or am I completely off and the Metal Men should just stay dead? Anyway, you have a fantastic New Year. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas, and I'll talk to you later.
I would say a book where she's left alone to kind of craft the characters from start to finish. What worked about Secret Six was she was really left alone with those characters to develop them. Bane included. You know, Bane wasn't really doing anything in the Bat books at the time, so she was able to really do some cool things with Bane and stayed to the core of who Bane is. Did the same thing with Deadshot, did the same thing with Catman, and then invented some new characters and fleshed them out and developed them. Ragdoll, really did good things with Ragdoll, Scandal, Jeanette, great characters that she was able to do things with. And there's a rotating cast that was in there. So, characters that really she's able to develop without having to worry about their appearances in multiple other books, other than being guests. I mean, where they're not the main character in those books. I think that's always helpful when you're developing a series. And something where they give her a nice run. Metal Men, I'd love to see her on it. My caution... First of all, I'd love to see her on it. I would read it in an instant. I think it'd be really cool. The problem is getting people to buy it and try it. Metal Men's an interesting sell. I think she'd do a great job. I would love to see her. I've always said this. I would love to see her do a Hawkman or Hawk-related book. I was thinking in particular, the character that I think is really interesting right now is that Earth 2 Hawkgirl. I think there's a lot of story to be told with that character. I think Gail would do a wicked job because she does, Red Sonja, I mentioned earlier, does a great job with strong action with characters while keeping that softer side and also putting in humor. And she just got a great balance with that. So I think a character like the Earth 2 Hawkgirl, she would do a phenomenal job with. I always wanted to see her do Hawkman. Another part of me would like to see her on a Batman book, because we haven't seen her tackle Batman. I mean, tackle Batman in a run. It'd be great to see her play around on that end, because I liked what she did with Batgirl a great deal, but I'd love to see her tackle Bruce and be able to do something with that if she had an interest with doing something with a character in a pitch. I don't know. I'm always anxious for any new stuff that she does, but I would love to see her have a second DC book. I really would. I hope that comes out of Convergence. I say that. I just want to make sure that Secret Six is protected. I want to see that series continue. I hope people are trying it. I think it's just a great book, and it's really different. So please give that book a shot if you haven't. I've given it, again, the highest possible recommendation. Not Gail Simone is my favorite writer. I've mentioned that many times, and it's not blind loyalty. It's the story that she's delivering. I have no hesitation to adamantly say that she remains my favorite writer because she constantly delivers from and surprises me. Secret Six surprised me. So I echo his sentiments as far as what was great about it wasn't what you expected, it was what you didn't expect. I like being shocked. And I like that a writer who I know her work so well can continue to surprise and captivate me and push the envelope, take things farther, evolve as a writer, increase the dynamics of her story that she's telling. I just think her work speaks to me, and I love that it continues to do so. So I can't wait to see what she does next. So yes to Metal Man. If she wrote, I'm in. I would love to read it. Yes to anything on there. From a fan standpoint, though, I'm a huge Hawkman fan. I love the Hawkman concept. Doesn't just have to be Hawkman. I would love a Hawkgirl series. I would love to see Gale tackle that. When Hawkgirl appeared in Birds of Prey, I thought she did an incredible job with the character. I always wanted to see more, and I think that she understands that concept and what I like about it. Sometimes I feel like creators don't quite understand what works about that concept, and I think she does. I think she gets it, and I would love to see her tackle it. So that would be a dream project that I would love to see her do, something Hawk related, and I'd love people to buy it so I get to keep reading it. Okay. I mean that's the problem with some of those things like Metal Man and the Hawk books and stuff like that, is getting people to try these things and word of mouth to get a different level of readership than those books have gotten previously, so they actually stick around. That's why I worry about Secret Six, because it's known to the fan community that loved Secret Six. I hope people that love the book, like I love when we get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, I loved Jack calling in about it. Love you for it. Thank you for doing that." And anybody listening to this, if there's a series you're digging that maybe Jim and I aren't talking about right now and you want to shout it out, that's what the voicemail line's for. Get the word out. Say, "Hey, dude, you guys aren't talking about this series at all. I'm digging this. Please talk about this because this is what I'm loving about it." And rant and rave. Our voicemail, we don't put a time limit on it. Go crazy. We want you guys to do this. So thank Jack for calling in about that. I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead. You have something you wanted to say.
Well, I was actually going to kind of echo his sentiments on the Metal Men. I do like them, and it's something that every time I read more stories about them, I kind of get the goofy nature, and I think she would do an amazing job with it because she does that great blend of comedic with seriousness, where it's the goofiness isn't lost in the story. It's it accentuates the seriousness, accentuates those epic moments with a little bit of levity. And I think with the Metal Men, they have that kind of whimsical style that with her touch and spin on it would be something really awesome. Other one I was thinking would be great with her is Doom Patrol. With her, at the helm of that would be another one of those titles where is this going to go? Because the Doom Patrol itself is already a little bit, weird and creepy and whatnot. Add her to it, I think that would take it to a whole nother of, oh my God, levels of definitely seeing that. And final piece, you mentioned Batman. I agree with you. I would want to see her on Batman and Robin, because I would want to see her deal with that dynamic between the two of them and her take on Damian, and just, when you add Talia back into the mix, add her to it. I think that for me would be just a must-read book.
I go back to Hawk Girl. I still want to see her in the Hawk books. I do. I really do. No, because of everything I love about Catman. I think she took the Catman concept and reinvigorated it, took a look at what it was, and expanded on it and continued to make it more interesting and well fleshed out. I think Hawkman as a character concept in the New 52 was touched and fleshed out at the beginning. I think they were trying to figure out what to do with it, and I think they haven't quite gotten there yet. I'm looking at that. That's an opportunity to take that concept and do something with it. Whether it's Hawkman, Hawkgirl, whatever, I would love to see her do a take on it. I think spinning out of Convergence would be a great time to do it. just because you could take the best concept of it that a creator has that they want to work with, and you have a story excuse to do it, because I'm sure Convergence will give that. So I would love to see that concept revived for a lot of the reasons you're saying about Metal Men and stuff like that. I think she would do the kick butt wacky. There's a lot of books I would give her, though.
Yeah.
She's one of those creators that, like, she will deliver a concept that, like the Atom. If you'd asked me that before, that all-new Atom book that she did, with Ryan, that was... I would have never suggested that. I would have never said, I would like to see Gale on the Atom. Yeah. I loved that book. So... anything
with the giant floating talking head.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it was just a really, really fun, great book that I would love to see anything that she wants to do. So I like the surprises that she does at times as well. I'd love to see her have a shot at a big book, though, with the big top-tier characters. I think that's why I threw out Batman, just because we saw her on Superman. I really enjoyed her work on Superman when she was doing, I think it was Action Comics.
Yeah, and of course, her Wonder Woman run is still, for me...
Yes.
It's still the comparison point. That's still any Wonder Woman story I do read, I do compare to her time on that book and that characterization of Wonder Woman. So it's, I'd love to see her handle the bat. I'd love to see her on, of course, Superman or any of the Super Family.
Yeah, so it's pretty open. The Metal Man idea, I think, is cool, though. So
that is a neat idea. I never thought of Metal Man, but I think that'd be. I know I would read it, especially with her name attached to it. But even without her name attached, I probably would give it a read through and a look at. But I think with her and her style to it, I think maybe we would get a shot at a pretty decent run on Metal Man.
Yeah, I agree. I want to shout out a show voicemail line. Actually, it's 1-440-388-4434, or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of the show, and I love the connection with our audience. Please feel free to call in about anything. If you have a topic of interest, a book that you're digging, anything that's really on your mind, comic or pop culture related, that you want to talk about on the show, please feel free to call in. That's what it's there for. And I air every single voicemail. So please make sure to call in, because we love hearing from you. And actually, Jack mentioned at the end of his about Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, things like that. We actually shouted out the Christmas holiday on our last episode, but I do want to wish everyone a very happy New Year. This is our last episode of 2014, and it's our 4th December episode. So it's a good time for us to just wish everybody happy, healthy New Year. I hope that 2015 is wonderful for you and brings nothing but exciting times, and for us as fans, great stories, but especially for anybody listening, to your friends, family, everything, good health and good news, and nothing but in 2015.
Yeah, happy New Year to everybody, and just wonderfulness coming down the pipeline. I got nothing prepared here. I'm kind of winging it, and I was going to say something, and then I can't remember the phrase in Italian. I was going to say Happy New Year in Italian, and it's like I want to say Buona Natalia, but I'm not exactly sure if that's correct.
I think you're just wishing everybody a whole big barrel of whatnotness in 2015.
I think so.
Yeah, I hope everyone in 2015 steps in a big, oozing pile of whatnot. Which sounds like a curse, but
but in a good way.
It is. It's a good curse. Seriously, thank you for listening to the show for this past year. Whether you're a new listener or a long-time listener, we genuinely appreciate you, and looking forward to just having more dialogue with you in 2015. So...
Holy caffeine!
I want to remind everyone about RagingBullets.com, our show website. That's where you're going to find information on the show. I post updates on what's happening next with the podcast. I want to remind everyone about a Facebook group. We have a wonderful Facebook group community, and you can get there from our website. It's on Facebook. Remember, it's a Facebook group, not a Facebook page. We do have a Facebook fan page now. We used to have they changed kind of the rules for websites on how they had accounts. So we had to actually convert it over to a page, but we do have a Facebook page that's a website, but that's not the same as our group, where it's a thriving community, and I just want to thank the wonderful people who participate in that community group that we share with InfiniteComics.com. Besides that, we're on Google+, Twitter. We have a Twitter handle. And if you go to Twitter, you can actually get our show website's feed goes straight into our Twitter account. So that's another great way to follow what's going on with the podcast straight through Twitter. Besides Twitter, we have personal Facebook pages. I'm on PlayStation Network, and actually just a couple of friends of the show just added me over the past week. If you're on there, please feel free to add me. It was kind of fun. I'm playing that Shadows of Mordor game, which is, Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, kind of game. The cool part is, if people are playing that, if they're killed in their game, you can go after the person that killed them. The orc or goblin or whatever creature that killed them. You can go after them on a vendetta mission and get revenge for like your friend. I think that's really cool. Yeah, so I've done that a couple of times now. I've gone after. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, that's somebody who listens to the podcast. They just added me recently. I'm going to go slay whoever did that to them. I like that kind of stuff. It's kind of neat. It's kind of a neat little bonus thing. So I like that. I a lot of times gaming wise, I'll be able to sit down for long stretches, but other times I'm like hit and run. I'm on for like 10 minutes, and then sometimes I'll leave my PlayStation on and be doing other things because I've got I'm doing work. Imagine that concept. It's fun that when you pop into a game, you can actually feel like you're affecting, your friends are affecting the game world. So I'm into that whole thing. So it's a lot of fun. So feel free to add me, if you're playing games. Some people asked me if I was playing Destiny, which is a big one. I just started playing Destiny. The time budget issue that we mentioned with comics is my same thing with my gaming time. There's a lot of games that I want to play. I've just been playing a ton of The Last of Us, which I think is a tremendous game. It's the remastered edition. I missed that one the first time through. I'm a big fan of Naughty Dog stuff, and I just beat it. And I kind of want to go back and play it on a harder difficulty. I played it on normal, which I always start off with, but I want to go back and play it on hard again just because I like the game so much that I kind of want to go through and do that. But it's really cool stuff. So I'm playing right now Shadows of Mordor and, of course, the WWE game, 2K15. I'm a big wrestling fan, so being able to play that game is just a whole bunch of fun. But if you're on the network, please feel free to add me. I would love it. It's up, which is strange over the past week because it seems to never be up because of recent attacks. Which I remember when we were in high school and into college. The idea of hackers was very romanticized, right? They were these rebels that were doing these cool things. I've become very annoyed with hackers. Just because, okay, you exist to take down gaming networks and annoy us. Because really, who does that annoy? It annoys the game players. I mean, obviously the company it does do a disservice to, but it seems to affect the game players more than anybody else because it doesn't stop the fact that game systems are being bought because, I don't know, the holiday season, both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One seem to sell very, very well. But they both got attacked right on Christmas Day. Of all the days to have your new toy down from the online component, the Christmas Day? Come on, really? So that kind of stuff was going on. But sponsoring us this episode, because I'm on a weird tangent, sponsoring this episode is DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Over at DCBService.com, it is the time of the month to start paying attention to the new deals that are coming up. And DCB Service is your source for whether it's comics or statues or collectibles like toys, variant covers. DCB Service really is your source for pre-ordering everything. And especially with eBay and things nowadays, it's very expensive to try and hunt these things down after the fact. So it's great to be able to pre-order them at a discount from DCBService.com. Over at InStockTrades.com, you can pick up a lot of their weekly deals. I just pulled up, for example, they got Superman Unchained, the deluxe edition hardcover, 45% off, only $16.49. So if you didn't pick up Superman Unchained, you can get the whole thing in a nice deluxe edition hardcover, that beautiful Jim Lee art, the Scott Snyder story, just in a great collected edition. Those deluxe edition hardcovers are nice because they're a little bit oversized. So it really, and the quality paper showcases the artwork. So if you haven't checked those out, go over to InStockTrades.com and check them out. James, our next episode, we're going to start taking a look at the Superman books. Also, if there's any other titles that jump out between the two of us, we'll kind of put them together for our next episode. But it'll be our first episode of 2015, which will start a look at what's going on in the world of Superman. We will see you then.
Bye! On November 13th, Sean Whalen was asked to stop constantly talking about comic books. That request came from his wife. Deep down, he knew she was right, but he also knew that someday he would find someone that would talk to him. With nowhere else to go, he appeared at the home of his childhood friend Jim Segulin. Sometime earlier, Segulin's boss had requested that he shut up about his comic books and never speak of them again. Can two grown men put out a DC Comics podcast without driving each other crazy? It's Raging Bullets, the DC Comics fan podcast. With Sean Whalen as Dr. Norge, and Jim Segulin as the Sensei of the Whatnot and the Duke of You-Know. It's a spoiler podcast, so they will go in depth into the plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics they are reviewing. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you may better enjoy the show.